Imagine waking up one day and suddenly realizing that the Earth's temperature is nearly 100 degrees Celsius. People are dying, burning, and melting in the streets, and food is scarce. But just when you least expect it, a flood engulfs the entire planet, forcing humanity to reveal its darkest side. But first, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost anything. The story begins with the image of a massive volcano erupting. Inside a bus, a man was complaining, saying that an undersea earthquake had triggered the eruption of Mount Fuji, causing the death of hundreds of Japanese people. He hadn't expected that evacuation would be necessary on the same day. Beside him, a woman explained that she had left in such a rush that she hadn't brought anything at all, and for that reason, she would need to go to the city of Jiangnan to buy supplies. A frightened man warned that he had received news that the warehouse in Jiangnan was completely empty. Another man countered, saying that was old news, as all the markets were already out of stock. The woman, however, didn't believe it, insisting that when adding up all the supplies, the total would probably reach tens of billions. At that moment, a man sitting behind them said that it wasn't billions nor trillions, and that the shortage of supplies and natural disasters were just the surface of something much bigger. He told everyone to open their eyes because the end of the world was coming. The others began to mock him, saying it had to be a joke. Some commented that if it really was the end of the world, at least everyone would be on equal footing. The protagonist, however, thought differently. For him, even if the apocalypse came, there would never be days when everyone was equal. He could say this with certainty, because he had already been through it before. In his previous life, he was just an ordinary deliveryman until the apocalypse appeared before his very eyes. The abnormal release of solar energy caused the Earth's core to expand rapidly, drastically increasing atmospheric temperatures. The Earth's crust began to move frequently, and monsters hidden underground came to the surface. On that day, the entire world changed forever. In a scenario of extreme scarcity, even a pack of instant noodles became a valuable commodity, and a simple piece of ham could make someone offer everything they owned. It was in this context that the protagonist was reborn, returning to 1 month before the end. While recalling all of this, the woman beside him on the bus said that she was frightened. When she tried to ask for his help, he simply turned his back and walked away, saying he had more important things to do. After leaving the bus, he decided that his priority now was to secure supplies. In his previous life, he had wasted too much time searching for resources, but this time he would prepare in advance. When the apocalypse arrived in the past, his boss was the first to flee, and he lost an entire year's salary. For that reason, all the supplies that were at his workplace would now serve as his compensation. At that moment, he activated a strange ability called supernatural space, which quickly collected everything around him. This ability allowed him to absorb anything nearby according to his will, storing it in a space of 10,000 square meters. The zero cost of acquisition made it even more convenient. With this ability, he managed to drain 2 freshwater lakes and loot several cities doomed to destruction. In the apocalypse, a pack of instant noodles was already an absurd luxury, and fresh food was even more valuable. Inside the supernatural space, time remained static, keeping food forever fresh regardless of the amount stored. He cried with relief, happy to know that he would never again have to eat dirt as in his previous life. When he opened his supply list, it was clear that he already possessed a large amount of food. At that moment, some men arrived and, upon seeing the empty warehouse, desperately asked where all the provisions had gone. The protagonist casually replied that he had taken everything for himself. Irritated, they rushed toward him, but he decided not to waste time. Using another ability, he stepped through a door and vanished. On the other side, he explained that this power was called spatial jump, allowing him to teleport within a 3-meter radius. With this ability, when the apocalypse came, he could safely invade abandoned buildings to steal supplies. Even if he faced mutant beasts, spatial jump could save Su Chen's life. He considered his mission to empty the mall already complete. Taking out his phone and reading the news, he noticed that agency staff were trying to avoid causing panic. Perhaps they already knew the apocalypse was approaching. At that moment, he received a call from his girlfriend, Jiang Xiaoqian, who accused him of ignoring her and began arguing, complaining about him selling the house. She claimed that no woman would want to be with a man without a home and insisted that he should gift her the property, saying that this was, according to her, a man's duty. While she spoke, Su Chen noticed that there was a man lying in her bed. Still, she demanded that he immediately transfer the property into her name, threatening not to marry him if he refused. Without patience, Su Chen asked if she had anything else to say. He then stated that he was returning to Jiangnan and that they would talk there, ending the call in her face. He then thought about Jiang Xiaoqian, remembering that in his previous life, they had lived together for 5 years during the apocalypse. It had been him who had searched alone for all the supplies that kept them alive, and if it weren't for him, she would have died much earlier. Even so, she betrayed him. The flashback showed a man asking why Su Chen was returning empty-handed, and demanding that he hand over the best things he had found. After beating him, the man told Jiang Xiaoqian that from then on, it would be just the two of them. She coldly declared that he was dying because he was incompetent. Su Chen acknowledged that, in the past, he had been a fool for trusting that kind of people. This time, neither Hao Yu nor Jiang Xiaoqian would be able to deceive him. Irritated, he promised that he would not die so easily, and that the pain he had suffered would be returned 100,000 times worse. However, he knew that the rest of the supplies could only be bought with money, so he needed to get it quickly. He called the manager and decided to sell his apartment for half the price because he urgently needed the money. The scene shifted to the place where he had arranged to meet Jiang Xiaoqian. She said she had been waiting for a long time, but Su Chen simply walked past her and told her to step aside. At that moment, Hao Yu questioned why he had sold the house, and said that Su Chen would not live to see tomorrow. Without hesitation, the protagonist grabbed Hao Yu by the neck and threw him to the ground like garbage, declaring that he could do whatever he wanted since the things were his. When Jiang Xiaoqian tried to stop him, she received a slap across the face. He warned Hao Yu that he would not die so soon, released his neck, and heard Jiang Xiaoqian demand that he apologize, threatening to cancel the wedding. Staring at them, he watched the two run away in fear. After that, a man approached, saying he wanted to buy Su Chen's house. The buyer thought the property was worth more than $1 million, but luckily the foolish boy was selling it for $700,000. Su Chen agreed to the sale, demanding immediate payment. The buyer said he would sign the contract and transfer the money on the spot, on the condition that the property be registered in his name by Monday. Thus, Su Chen received the $700,000 and left. As he walked, he reflected that several disasters were happening in the world. But since Xiaochengdo was in the Central Plains, inland earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions were still far from there. Moreover, with the official denials, everything seemed calm. That was when he saw a loan shark's flyer stuck to a pole. Since he had the deed to a property, he thought he could mortgage it. The next scene showed Su Chen already at the location, asking how much he could borrow. The man in front of him was Dahai, Hao Yu's brother, who in his previous life had died, devoured by a mutant beast. Dahai said he could lend up to $500,000 as long as the deed stayed with him. Su Chen asked for another $100,000, promising that the following week he would repay everything as soon as he recovered his losses. Dahai believed that Su Chen was just a gambling addict, willing even to lose his property. Thinking that way, he agreed to lend him $600,000. The scene then shifted to Hao Yu and Jiang Xiaoqian, who commented that Su Chen would have to pay for what he had done. At that moment, they saw the protagonist passing by and began wondering what he was doing there. Su Chen remembered that, in his previous life, many commercial buildings had collapsed because they could not withstand the strain of natural disasters. However, the Green Tree Hotel had survived them all and remained standing until the end of the world. He had heard that the hotel's presidential suite was even equipped with a swimming pool. Using that place as a base for long-term residents would be perfect. Despite already having emptied several warehouses, he still had no hot food. That was when Jinrui from the hotel restaurant appeared. Su Chen said he wanted to order 1,000 banquet tables, which left Jinrui stunned. She explained that there were options of 5,000, 10,000, 30,000, and even 100,000 per month. She thought that this daring young man could only be a millionaire in disguise. Su Chen chose the 10,000 per table package, totaling 10 million, and informed her that he would pay a deposit of 500,000. He gave her the delivery address and said he would settle the remaining balance in a week. He calculated that the cost of the ingredients would probably be around 500,000, but he considered it worth it to build connections with wealthy people, as the secret to business was knowing how to act with experience. Shinrui asked how she could address him, and he replied, Su Chen. Then she asked if he was getting married, and he confirmed, saying the order was for his wedding, taking the opportunity to also request a reservation for a presidential suite. As he left, he thought with satisfaction that he had secured 10 million worth of dishes in one go, and that 500,000 was nothing, since in the apocalypse even an ice cube would be worth hundreds of millions. Meanwhile, Shinrui felt charmed, believing that the woman who married him would be very happy. At that moment, Jiang Xiaoqian appeared and asked what Su Chen was doing there. Shinrui asked who she was, and Jiang Xiaoqian replied that she was his girlfriend. Surprised, Shinrui told her that her boyfriend had just ordered a banquet of 1,000 tables and paid a deposit of 500,000, saying she was very lucky. But inwardly, she thought Jiang Xiaoqian was nothing more than a 7 out of 10, and that her presence could not compare to her own elegance. She could not understand why wealthy men liked that kind of woman so much. Even so, So, Jiang Xiaoqian and Hao Yu did not believe Su Chen was truly a millionaire until Shinrui showed them the payment receipt. Outside, Hao Yu commented that he had reserved 1,000 tables and wanted to know who he planned to invite. Jiang Xiaoqian replied that he was probably going to introduce her to his wealthy friends, and she began to imagine a perfect opportunity to get closer to that circle, feeling like a future queen. Meanwhile, Su Chen was deep in thought. He had sold his house for 700,000, received another 600,000 from the loan, but had spent 500,000 on the food order. During the zero-cost waves of the previous apocalypse, he had lost many essential items, and even paying only the deposit, he knew that the remaining 800,000 was not much. With a sinister smile, Su Chen remarked that it would be a shame if he started making online deposits right then. Soon after, he downloaded more than 80 apps at once and requested loan amounts ranging from 30 to 30,000 yuan. After some time, he managed to secure a total of 960,000 yuan in online loans. Without wasting time, he got up, as he needed to buy some essential items. Among them were fireplaces, ice machines, ice cubes, and anthracite coal, since that type of coal could not be found in supermarkets. He knew he could buy it online and have it delivered quickly, thus ensuring survival both in extreme heat and in severe cold. He called to purchase coal, and the saleswoman informed him that the price was 2,500 per ton. Su Chen said he would make an initial deposit of 500,000 and pay the rest upon receiving the goods. He repeated the same procedure to buy ice cubes and other necessary products. Switching scenes, Su Chen met Xiao Qian, who was accompanied by her best friend, Li Na. Li Na commented that Xiao Qian had been thinking about him over the past few days. Su Chen knew that Li Na always spoke badly of him behind his back, and had even encouraged Xiao Qian to take over his house. She said that Xiao Qian was just testing him and wanted to know why he was being so indifferent. Then Xiao Qian apologized for what had happened the day before and invited him for a walk. He refused, saying he was busy, and suggested she go alone. Seeing him get into a taxi, Li Na hailed another and instructed the driver to follow his vehicle. Meanwhile, Su Chen arrived at the ice factory, where the seller boasted about the efficiency of the service and said the total would be 800,000. He agreed, transferred a deposit of 100,000, and asked for the delivery to be made in 3 days to an address he would provide. After receiving the payment, the seller asked if he was hosting a large event, suggesting future deals with attractive prices. Su Chen simply commented that the purchase was for charity, which impressed the man. Shortly after, Li Na and Xiao Qian arrived to speak with the seller. They introduced themselves as acquaintances of Su Chen, and the man, confused, said he thought they were detectives. He explained that Su Chen had just bought 800,000 worth of ice, which shocked the two women and made them even more convinced that he was a tycoon. When they asked the purpose of such a purchase, the seller replied that Su Chen had said it was for charity, leaving them even more intrigued. Back to his routine, Su Chen had already acquired everything he wanted, and all that was left was to enjoy the days before the apocalypse. He reflected that, in his past life, he had been so busy with work that he didn't even have time for a cup of coffee. Now, in front of dishes worthy of a fine restaurant, he noticed that one of them was marked with a question mark and cost 17,000. The waitress explained that the dish was prepared by the chef and that the choice was entirely up to them. Finding it curious, Su Chen decided to order it. While waiting, he thought about the beginning of the cataclysm in his previous life, when a strange power caused creatures to undergo mutations. He remembered the mythical beast known as the Ming snake, described in the classic Mountains and Seas, which appeared during floods and resembled the monstrous snake he had seen in the past. He preferred to call it activism instead of mutation. At that moment, a beautiful woman introduced herself as the restaurant's chef and said that the dish had been created especially for him. When Su Chen saw the woman's face, he recognized her immediately and thought she was the Hell's Kitchen demon, Duan Ya. In the previous apocalypse, she had culinary skills capable of transforming decaying ingredients into true miracles, creating dishes irresistible to anyone. However, these delicacies were made using the source of mutation found in mythical beasts, and consuming them meant signing one's own death sentence. While he remained surprised, Duan Ya wondered why he had reacted that way, thinking perhaps he always behaved like that in front of a beautiful woman. She presented the dish, explaining that it was called Two-Faced Life. One side was delicately fried in palm oil, while the other was prepared to be crispy. After tasting it, Su Chen admitted that the flavor was excellent and worth every coin spent. For a moment, he thought about having her as a cook in the apocalypse, but quickly changed his mind, fearing she might poison him. Outside, Li Na and Xiao Qian commented on the restaurant's luxury, convinced that Su Chen was truly very rich. Li Na also asked Xiao Qian not to forget her friends when she became wealthy, complaining that she was being attacked by mosquitoes while waiting. The scene then shifted to the Century Bar, a luxurious meeting place for Xiao Qiang. Some wealthy heirs had spent 2 million there without getting anything in return. Su Chen knew that, in the apocalypse, places like that would no longer exist, and he regretted not having enjoyed them in his previous life. At that moment, he was surrounded by beautiful women, and one of them mentioned that Yunyan was there for the first time because she had been betrayed by her boyfriend. She explained that the betrayal happened because she refused to have relations with him. Su Chen replied that this kind of behavior was part of men's nature, an instinct for reproduction deeply rooted in them. Yunyan then began to drink excessively, surprising him. In the midst of her drunkenness, she called him handsome and asked if he was single. When she began getting too close, Xiao Qian and her friend arrived, accusing the situation of being a trap. Without wasting any time, Su Chen grabbed Yunyan by the arm and took her upstairs. In the room, she confessed it was her first time. He only gave her a light touch and asked if she was drunk or sober, advising her not to go out in the next few days and to stock the house with food. To him, foolish and love-struck people did not belong in that place. He then left the room and closed the door. Meanwhile, Xiao Qian and Li Na searched the place, opening doors in an attempt to find him. Changing scenes again, everything Su Chen had ordered arrived at the same time. Xiao Qian and Li Na watched from a distance, trying to figure out what he was planning, as there was a huge banquet being prepared, and even a red carpet laid out. Xiao Qian wondered if perhaps guests would suddenly appear so that Su Chen could make some kind of proposal to her. Convinced of this possibility, she even considered playing hard to get to increase her value in his eyes. When she finally went to speak to Su Chen, he asked her to help move some things. She didn't like the idea, as her goal was to be a trophy wife, not do heavy work. However, Li Na warned her that this could just be a rich man's test. Determined not to miss her chance, Xiao Qian agreed, even though she nearly collapsed carrying a box. To her, every effort was a step closer to marrying him. Even Li Na offered to help. Su Chen, for his part, believed that free labor should never be wasted, especially since there were 1,000 tables of food and 2 tons of ice to organize. Even with hotel staff available, it would take a long time to finish. After hours of work, everything was finally done. Xiao Qian was completely exhausted, complaining that she had gone the entire day without eating. Still, she was already dreaming that, once she became Su Chen's wife, she would take all his money. Li Na was also so tired she could barely stand. Xiao Qian believed the test was over, and that at any moment the wealthy guests would arrive. Li Na, however, found it strange that the food was already getting cold, and thought the behavior of these people was unusual. Su Chen thanked the delivery drivers for their great work, and handed each of them a red envelope with at least 10,000 yuan inside, which made them very happy. Then Xiao Qian asked if he wanted to tell her something, but he simply thanked her for the help, told her there was no payment for her, and said she could leave. Surprised, she told him not to joke, saying she knew this was a surprise party for their wedding, and that the guests could come out now. Confused, Su Chen asked where she had gotten that idea from, explaining that he had sold his house, was full of debt, and wondering if she would still want to be with him. For Li Na, it was impossible to believe he was in debt after seeing everything he had bought. Su Chen explained that this was only possible because a big boss wanted to do some charity, helping those in need a little. Furious, Xiao Qian accused him of deceiving her, but he replied that he had never promised her anything. Collapsing to the floor in indignation, she declared that if he was not a wealthy heir, he should forget about marrying her. Su Chen retorted that he wouldn't care for a gold digger like her anyway. The two women, irritated, left, swearing that he would regret it. He only commented that, soon, they would taste the true flavor of the apocalypse. Finally, Su Chen closed the door, satisfied that he had gathered all the necessary supplies. Now, all that was left was to wait for the apocalypse to begin. Then, he activated his spatial unfolding ability. The scene shifted to the Green Tree Hotel, where Dahai told Xiao Qian she would do very well if she married Hao Yu, since his family had great influence in Jiangnan City. Hao Yu, in turn, said she should have been with him from the start. Xiao Qian replied that, from that moment on, she would only have eyes for him. Hao Yu then declared he would ask his older brother to teach Su Chen a good lesson. For Xiao Qian, being with Hao Yu would be much better than staying with Su Chen. However, right behind them, Su Chen was eating calmly, commenting that the woman truly wasn't picky. Surprised by his presence, Hao Yu told his brother that this was the guy who had attacked him earlier. Dahai said he was just looking for him, because he couldn't believe he had dared to lay a hand on his brother. It took courage to do that. Hao Yu asked his brother if he already knew Su Chen, and Dahai explained that this young man had mortgaged his brother's house and even lent him 600,000 yuan, a sum that was to be returned the next day. Meanwhile, Xiao Qian and Li Na commented that Su Chen was despicable and that borrowing money in such a way was like asking for his own death. Remaining calm, Su Chen only complained that he couldn't even eat in peace. Dahai then warned that he wanted his money back by the next day and that it would be easy to find him since he was staying at a hotel. Unless he had the 600,000 yuan to pay that night, there would be trouble. Hao Yu insisted that his brother should just kill Su Chen immediately, but at that moment, Xiao Qian intervened, asking them to calm down. Dahai proposed to end the matter if Su Chen kneeled before him and his brother, demanding that he humiliate himself thoroughly. Xiao Qian asked Su Chen what was going on, but he replied that it was nothing serious. That attitude irritated Dahai even more, making him say that not even the Jade Emperor could save him. At that moment, a man appeared, asking what was going on. His name was Gao Cheng. Dahai immediately became submissive and asked what he was doing there. Gao Cheng explained that he had important business that night, and that anyone causing trouble would be picking a fight with him. Dahai knew that Gao Cheng was a very famous businessman in Jiangnan, but he also had ties to the underworld and many people working for him. Su Chen recognized him as Skull Crusher Gao Cheng, one of the most powerful figures in Shangdu during the apocalypse of his previous life. He also remembered that the Hell's Kitchen demon was subordinate to him, and that the Green Tree Hotel was where the first mutations had taken place. According to his memories, Gao Cheng had become Skull Crusher thanks to those mutations, and Su Chen realized this could be a good opportunity. Gao Cheng commented that Su Chen seemed like an interesting young man. Changing scenes, he told Chief's son that he had invited Duan Ya, who, in turn, wondered what that man wanted with her. The chief said that he had always heard about Duan Ya's extraordinary beauty, and that he was finally able to meet her in person. He then offered her a glass of wine. Meanwhile, Su Chen remembered that, in his previous life, he and Xiao Qian had hidden in a basement to survive the extreme heat apocalypse. He hadn't imagined that, in this life, after dismissing her, she would still follow him to that place. He decided that this time, he would settle all old and new scores at once. From a distance, he observed the Wang brothers at the pool. Dahai complained to Hao Yu that the night was too hot, and his brother replied that this was why he had suggested going to the pool. Both were excited about what they planned to do later with some women. Meanwhile, the two women with them remarked that the moon looked brighter than usual, almost like the Sunday. Hao Yu joked that this was the size of their love, but from afar, Su Chen thought that this love was about to explode, triggering the apocalypse. Suddenly, the moon began to shine intensely, and everyone ran, saying the heat was unbearable. People wondered why it was so bright outside. Upon returning inside the building, some men noticed their skin was extremely red and, in desperation, jumped into an aquarium to soothe the burns. Hao Yu looked for his older brother, and when Dahai appeared, his body was completely burned and covered in blisters. Meanwhile, the scene shifted back to Gao Cheng, where Xiao Qian informed Chief's son that the banquet was ready. Chief's son said that no one had ever refused a drink from him, but Duan Ya accused Gao Cheng of having greatly harmed her life in the past. According to her, he had exploited many women while controlling Jiangnan, and for that reason, she suspected there was something wrong with that drink. Determined not to fall into traps, she refused to drink it. At that moment, the light outside intensified, burning everyone's eyes, and they asked for the curtains to be closed. Xiao Qian tried to contact the rescue team, while Gao Cheng wanted to understand what was happening. A man explained that the moon's brightness had raised the temperature to 70 degrees Celsius, causing hundreds of casualties, according to the news. Meanwhile, Chief's son called Minister Gao, saying the problem was related to the little son and asking for immediate help. Gao Cheng asked what it was about, but Chief's son explained that the higher-ups assured there was no risk to the power supply and that there was no manpower available to send there. The situation, therefore, was serious. Dahai, severely burned, knew he couldn't go to the hospital because of the extreme heat, but said he would ask Xiao to come and get them. Xiao Dao was in the underground parking lot, but when he drove out, he found the heat outside unbearable. The temperature was so high that the vehicle's tires began to melt. He tried to run to escape, but the sun burned so intensely that the soles of his sneakers also melted. When he fell to the ground, he saw several burned bodies scattered across the asphalt. His face touched the scorching surface and began to melt, and a scream of agony echoed over the phone, horrifying those who heard it. Meanwhile, the protagonist Su Chen remained calm in his room. To prevent anyone from entering, he wouldn't hesitate to point a gun at the head of anyone who tried to force their way in. It was known that, due to the intense heat radiation from the moon, the Earth's average temperature had reached 75 degrees Celsius, while the ground reached up to 100 degrees Celsius. This phenomenon had caused hundreds of deaths around the world, as well as explosions in several power plants. At the hotel, Dahai remarked that it seemed Shada had left. Another man replied that all the rooms were full, and they would have to squeeze into whatever space they had. Xiao Qian and Li Na protested, saying they didn't want to share a room with men. Dahai questioned why there was no power in the place, and it was explained that the air conditioning had stopped, causing the temperature to quickly rise above 40 degrees Celsius, meaning that sooner or later, everyone would die from the heat. He then began to think of a solution. Shakan recalled that Su Chen's suite had a pool, and suggested they occupy it. Meanwhile, Su Chen reflected on his previous life, when the power supply in Jiangnan City had suffered dangerous failures. Even with additional manpower, the electrical grid eventually exploded, leaving everyone without electricity. That's why, in this life, he had chosen a room with a pool, installed a portable air conditioner and power stations with giant batteries, and kept huge blocks of ice, ensuring a cool environment. Feeling hungry, he activated his ability and conjured a banquet for himself. While eating, he thought about when the opportunity involving Gao Cheng would arise. At that moment, someone knocked on the door. When he opened it, he found Xiao Qian's group, who were astonished by how cool the place was. There was not only fresh air, but also electricity, ice, and an abundance of food. Indignation took over everyone, as they suffered in the heat while he lived in comfort. They tried to break into the room, and Dahai said that Su Chen owed him money, demanding to be let in. However, Su Chen shot at Dahai, warning that if they advanced, they would all die. The gesture frightened the group, who thought he was insane. Realizing there was no other choice, Dahai surrendered, but still took a bullet in the leg. Su Chen then warned that he would count to 3, and wanted everyone gone immediately. Elsewhere, some men were talking to Xiao Qian about the lack of food in the hotel. He explained that someone had ordered a banquet for 1,000 tables 2 days earlier, depleting the stock. Chief Sun ordered that all remaining food and water be delivered to him. The confusion in the hotel grew when everyone realized the food was running out quickly. At that moment, Dahai appeared, injured and full of bullet marks. Some men asked what had happened, and Xiao Qian explained that Su Chen's room had electricity, air conditioning, and even a swimming pool. The revelation left everyone outraged, prompting a crowd to head for his door. When they arrived, they asked if they could come in. A boy, upon seeing fried chicken inside the room, rushed in like a starving predator. Irritated, Su Chen kicked him so hard that the boy would never forget it. He warned the mother to control her son, or he would take matters into his own hands. The act outraged the crowd, who accused him of being a murderer for assaulting a child. Tension grew, and when they tried to attack him, Su Chen shot one of the attackers in the head, declaring that even alone, he would not let them take the only life he had. Hao Yu was devastated by his brother's death and blamed Su Chen for leaving him outside. Meanwhile, Xiao Qiang and Li Na tried to seduce Su Chen, promising to do anything he wanted. Li Na even hinted she could join him that night. To their surprise, Su Chen replied that this was an act of deep love and invited them in. Before they could react, Hu pushed the two aside and lunged to kill him. Su Chen countered by striking Hao Yu's face with a piece of wood and throwing him away. He then said that anyone who wanted could come into the room, which made the two women change their minds and caused everyone to run away from there. The scene shifted to the moment the rescue team arrived at the hotel. They told everyone to quickly put on heat-resistant suits and leave. Some residents asked if this was really the rescue and why they were there. One of the men explained that the authorities planned to begin the evacuation operation at midnight, when the temperature would be lower, and that they could head to the Silicon Valley Plaza that night. The news excited everyone. However, Sun Debiao demanded that he be given a heat-resistant suit immediately. The soldiers restrained him, saying that Zheng Guo was a geology expert and would play an important role in managing the disaster. Sun asked Gao why he still hadn't gotten a suit for himself. At that moment, Xiao Qian told the soldiers that there was an armed maniac upstairs, responsible for killing several people. Soldier Xiao Defeng said he would stay behind to deal with it, but his companion warned him not to act impulsively. Even so, he went towards Su Chen's room. Xiao Qian thought that if Su Chen died, she could take over his room. As Xiao Feng approached, he realized he was being watched by cameras. Within seconds, Su Chen threw a tear gas grenade at him, knocked him out, stole his gun, and dragged him into the room. When he regained consciousness, Xiao Feng was impressed with everything in the place and asked how Su Chen had gotten a flash grenade. Su Chen explained that he had acquired the weapons during a trip to the Middle East and that the authorities would arrive the next morning for the rescue. Curious, Xiao Feng asked how he knew that. Su Chen thought that the situation was almost identical to his previous life and explained that, although the temperature would drop considerably in the early morning, exposure exposure to moonlight for more than 10 minutes would still cause fainting, leading many people to die on the way to the rescue. Even so, Xiaofeng said there was no other option, and that all they could do was wait for the residents to head to the rescue points the next day. Su Chen added that, in fact, thick blankets and padded clothing could protect against the cold, increasing the survival rate, as long as people did not fall to the ground. At that moment, he was already pointing the gun at Xiaofeng's head, but Xiaofeng asked him to wait a moment, because he wanted to talk about the blankets before dying. So, Su Chen decided to release him, untying the ropes, and said that he respected what Xiaofeng was trying to do. For that reason, this time, he would not kill him. Xiaofeng asked if he wasn't afraid that he would call for reinforcements, but Su Chen told him to look up. It was then that Xiaofeng saw a sentinel tower equipped with facial recognition cameras, and asked where that equipment had come from. Su Chen simply replied that he had already said he had been to the Middle East. Meanwhile, in another scene, soldiers commented that Xiaofeng had talked about the blankets but revealed nothing about what had happened upstairs. At that moment, Sun slapped Gao Qiang in the face, calling him useless for having done nothing for him. One of Gao's henchmen asked how much longer they would have to put up with him, and Gao replied that when the authorities began the rescue and order was restored, they would still need his connections. Then, emerging from the shadows, Su Chen appeared, saying that the chaotic era had already begun, and that Chief Guo Chang still dreamed of restoring order. A henchman wanted to kill him, but Gao told him to wait for the right moment and asked why Su Chen had come down the stairs. Su Chen replied that he was there to propose a deal and threw several ice cubes on the table as a bribe. The henchman commented that if they killed him, they would surely find valuable things in his room. However, Su Chen pointed the gun at his head, which made them start eating the ice cubes, saying they were very refreshing. They decided to accept Su Chen's demands for now, planning to kill him later to take his room. At that moment, De Biao appeared and kicked over the bucket of ice, warning that if there was something good in the future and he didn't get his share, everyone would be dead. This made Gao Qiang extremely irritated. De Biao then looked at Duan Ya and asked if she wouldn't take off her clothes since it was so hot, implying that she was too reserved. He then grabbed her wrist, saying he wanted to have some fun, and demanded that she go upstairs with him immediately. Outraged, Duan Ya slapped him in the face and called him a filthy bastard. Furious, De Biao insulted her and tore her suit, declaring that he would let everyone have a taste of her later. At that moment, Gao Qiang appeared behind him and asked if he wasn't going too far. When De Biao tried to humiliate Gao Qiang, he ended up being knocked out by him. Gao Qiang stated that Su Chen was right, as this was already a chaotic era, and for that reason, De Biao could die. He then declared that, from that moment on, he would be the new chief, and that everyone could either run to the rescue point or die right there. Su Chen, watching from a distance, thought that the plan was working since Gao Qiang, as the former leader of that place, was simply speeding up the process, giving him more opportunities. Meanwhile, two girls begged Gao Qiang to give them some water. He then poured cold water over them, saying that if they wanted more, they would have to do everything he ordered. One of his henchmen asked if they weren't going to the rescue point, but Gao Qiang replied that the place was 1 kilometer away and it would be impossible to reach it alive. The henchman insisted, questioning how they would maintain supplies with so many useless people around. Gao Qiang explained that Su Chen also didn't want to keep those people, but they still needed more cannon fodder. The scene changed, and it was already midnight. Xiao Qian and Li Na commented that they could finally leave that hell. Everyone was covered with thick blankets, but at that moment, Gao Qiang's henchman pulled the blanket off Xiao Qian, saying that since Gao Qiang had given all his cold water to them, it didn't make sense to let them leave now. Meanwhile, some people tried to reach the rescue point, complaining that since Gao Qiang had taken control of the supplies, he had provided neither water nor food. They believed that at the rescue point they might have a chance to survive. However, the journey proved to be fatal. Sneakers melted in the heat, and people collapsed along the way. Back at the hotel, Danhai's body opened its eyes, revealing a completely red gaze. Su Chen remembered that, in his previous life, he had also gone to the rescue point with them, but no one had remembered to bring him a blanket. And although it was only 1 kilometer away, many lives had been lost over that distance. Meanwhile, Gao Qiang's henchman was tormenting the two girls when, suddenly, the bodies of Danhai and De Biao stood up and began walking toward them. Everyone was terrified, wondering if they were zombies. Hao Yu commented that maybe, if they were bitten, they would also transform. Gao Qiang then told him to test it and threw him toward the creatures. At that moment, Su Chen appeared, telling everyone to step back. He knew that, in the apocalypse, some corpses underwent mutations when exposed to sunlight, but they were not zombies and did not transmit any virus. They were more like the dry demons described in the classic of Mountains and Seas, creatures that retain the memories and obsessions of their past lives. In his previous life, Zhao Cheng had killed one of these people, which caused it to become the first dry demon, driven by the obsession for revenge. Dan Hai had transformed because Su Chen had killed him. Su Chen realized that Gao Cheng's opportunity was right there. He then split Debiao's body in half, revealing a purple crystal. He explained that it was a crystal core, capable of granting superhuman physical strength. He took it and said he would leave the rest for them, while they struggled to fight the dry demons. Later, back in his room, Su Chen washed the crystal core and swallowed it. At that moment, Su Chen's body underwent a mutation. Meanwhile, the men managed to defeat the dry demon, but they had used up all their water to do so. When Lina tried to escape, one of them grabbed her. She then promised to reveal a way to capture Su Chen if they let her go to the rescue point. She said that Xiao Qian was Su Chen's wife, and if they did anything to her in front of him, he would surely open the door. The hairy man found the plan interesting. Xiao Qian said she could cooperate, but she was hungry and wanted meat. The hairy man replied that meat without refrigeration would already be rotten. However, Gao Cheng asked if she really wanted meat, and handed her a knife, telling her to help herself while the men restrained Li Na. To everyone's surprise, Xiao Qian took the knife and walked toward Li Na, who begged her, saying they were sisters. Coldly, Xiao Qian said that was a lie, as they were not sisters, and then stabbed her several times. The act shocked everyone. With a psychopathic smile, she declared that once she was satisfied, she would go upstairs to drink Su Chen's blood. Gao Cheng told them to inform Duanya to cook that meat, but one of his henchmen showed discomfort. Gao Cheng replied that without water, they would not survive a day, and if he didn't want to turn into a zombie, he had better obey. Meanwhile, in his room, Su Chen tested his speed and noticed that his heat resistance had greatly increased, as well as his strength and muscle mass. At that moment, he noticed someone at the door. He opened it completely, without clothes, in front of Duanya, who became extremely embarrassed and said she hadn't done it on purpose. Inside the room, Su Chen stated that his resources were limited, and he could not allow her to stay there just because she was pretty. He remembered that, in his previous life, Duanya was extremely attractive and determined, and had a corporate relationship with Gao Cheng. Although he was thinking of subduing her, he felt that the atmosphere was different. Duanya explained that, besides being an excellent boss, she was also a doctor with 3 years of experience as a surgeon. Observing the comfort of the room, cool air, electricity, ice cubes, and food, she concluded that she needed to prove her worth in order to stay there. Su Chen found the offer tempting but emphasized that resources were scarce, and he didn't know if they would survive until the next day. Duanya then said that, as long as she wasn't expelled, she would do anything for him. He accepted and told her to make herself at home, warning that her only option was to obey, as he had no ulterior motives. She replied that she understood and would not doubt his methods. Su Chen praised her behavior, and then told her to take off her clothes, showing that he wasted no time. Later, Duanya was calmly taking a bath, saying that compared to the outside world, this place was a paradise. However, Su Chen was not the gentleman she imagined, treating her as someone completely submissive. Without her knowing, he was watching her through a hidden camera in the bathroom, telling himself it wasn't spying but a way to make sure she wouldn't do anything against him. When she came out of the bath, Duanya was wearing a very suggestive nurse outfit and asked if it wasn't too small. Su Chen, no fool, replied that it was perfect. At that moment, someone knocked on the door asking for his help. Duanya told Su Chen not to open the door, saying that those people had just devoured Li Na, and if they came in, they would be next. Su Chen didn't fully believe her, but when he opened the door, he saw that everyone had already turned into monsters and were about to attack Xiao Qian. One of the monsters lunged at Su Chen, but he easily immobilized it. Xiao Qian ran to him begging for help, but Su Chen grabbed her by the neck and said that because she had eaten human flesh, she was no longer human, as the body mutates and develops fangs after doing so. Gao Cheng intervened, claiming that in the apocalypse, eating human flesh wasn't wrong if it was to survive. Xiao Qian declared that the meat was delicious, and that she was full of strength, barely able to wait to taste Su Chen. He reacted with a kick so strong it sent her flying, leaving her hanging from the window with only one arm. The other monsters charged, thinking they were stronger than him, but they were all humiliatingly defeated. At that moment, Xiao Qian returned as an even stranger creature. Su Chen was surprised at the speed of her mutation, and concluded that her obsession was very deep, deciding to kill her again. Duanya, watching the fight, acknowledged that Su Chen was impressive but noticed that the creature seemed more dangerous. Determined not to be a burden, she grabbed a whip to help him, which surprised Su Chen since she didn't run away in fear. However, with that outfit and the whip, she only ended up distracting him. Xiao Qian attacked and managed to scratch Su Chen's chest. When she tried tried to bite his neck, she failed because his body was as hard as stone. He twisted both of her arms, stepped on her back, and with force ripped them off. Su Chen said that he had planned to let everyone die in the apocalypse, but now he preferred to kill them quickly. Suddenly, Xiao Qian devoured the body of a transformed man on the floor, and her ripped-off arms regenerated. Su Chen found that great, as it meant he could destroy her over and over again. He grabbed one of her arms again and ripped it off, repeating the process 20 times until she stopped regenerating. Crying, Xiao Qian asked why he was doing this. He remembered everything she had done to him in his past life and said he was taking revenge. Then, he stepped on her head, crushing it completely. With a dark look, Su Chen asked Duanya if she was ready. She wanted to know ready for what, and he replied that since she had been brave, she should prepare a reward for him. The scene shifted to the rescue point, where the men commented that the temperature seemed to be returning to normal, and maybe the apocalypse was ending. A soldier warned that many people were approaching, but the captain identified them as a sea of corpses. She ordered the immediate evacuation of the civilians, saying she would hold the monsters off, and the soldiers began shooting at the horde. Back in the room, Su Chen said he would let Duanya experience the power of a berserk. She, lying on the bed, asked if they would do it again, and how many times it had already been. He replied that the heatwave was over, but he wanted to leave unforgettable memories. Su Chen explained that to stay by his side, one must meet two conditions: be valuable and absolutely obey all of his orders. Switching scenes, Su Chen noticed that Duanya had completely submitted to him and decided he needed to hurry back before the seawater advanced. In his previous life, many dry demons, driven by their obsession to reach the rescue point, had formed a true tide of corpses, attacking everyone in their path. This assault resulted in the deaths of countless civilians and soldiers, scattering a large number of weapons across the city and giving rise to various factions. While driving, some men tried to steal his car, but Su Chen accelerated and ran them all over. He remembered that, just like before, the subway station would collapse due to extreme sun exposure and the attack of the corpse tide, causing thousands of deaths underground. Many dry demons would gather there, drawn by the noise of the car, but not all of them possessed a crystal core, and cracking open each skull would take far too long. Therefore, he decided to check the situation at the school first. It was his first time returning to the University of Engineering since graduation. Upon arriving at the laboratory building, he found several dry demons chained by the neck. A few men were guarding the entrance and told him that, to pass, he would have to make a tribute by handing over his backpack. Su Chen revealed that it contained chicken thighs, leaving them surprised. When he tossed one to the ground, they all scrambled to grab it. However, there was a string tied to the chicken, and Su Chen pulled it back, saying they were not worthy of eating it. The men tried to attack him, but he killed them all with ease. Looking around, he remarked that he didn't remember there being so many survivors before, concluding that his warning in the past might have helped more people survive. Heading to the laboratory of the Department of Reptile Biology, he broke the padlock with his bare hands and went inside. There, he found several dead snakes and a strong smell of decomposition. That was when he found what he was looking for: the future leader of the army of water-breathing snakes, the Cobra Rat King. In his previous life, this snake was the first to undergo an atavistic mutation, killing countless people, and even he had almost died to it. When the flood arrived in a week, it would begin to transform, and it would be a problem if he didn't defeat it now. Su Chen had the impression that the animal was already showing signs of intelligence, and decided to proceed with caution. At that moment, armed men appeared, but before he could react, the captain appeared and took them all down with swift strikes. Su Chen pointed his gun at her head, acknowledging that her skills weren't bad. However, without warning, he was caught by a leg lock. That was when he realized that, as he learned from Gohan in Dragon Ball, there are some moves that don't need to be avoided. The woman was surprised to realize she couldn't twist Su Chen's neck. In the next moment, she was already tied up, wondering what kind of person he was. She introduced herself as Bai Kang, captain of the Blue Tiger Special Operations Unit, and advised him to release her and behave. Su Chen asked if she knew Xiao Feng, saying he had once saved his life. Bai Kang explained that a gang had taken control of the school, taking students hostage and stealing their weapons. When the wave of undead attacked, some prisoners and fugitives mixed in with the civilians. Su Chen remarked that, in that case, it wasn't entirely her fault, but Bai Kang replied that as long as they had weapons, those people posed no threat. She asked how long he intended to keep her tied up. After releasing her, she said she couldn't offer much, but could lend him a firearm mount. Su Chen told her to hurry and not bother him. Bai Kang then said she intended to raid the gang's hideout, because only by recovering the supplies could they keep the people in the school alive. She believed that might be the only time they would ever meet. Hearing this, Su Chen asked her to wait. He put a sniper rifle in her backpack and said that that since Xiaofeng was his brother, he would help her. The scene shifted to a man asking a subordinate how things were going. The subordinate said everyone was gathered outside, and that this time they would take down the dormitory students. Suddenly, Su Chen appeared, kicking the door open. The men wondered how he had gotten past the 20 guards outside. Su Chen said he'd show them how he had entered, made a gun gesture with his hand, and shot the man in the head, leaving everyone frightened because they didn't understand what had happened. In reality, the shot came from Bai Kang, positioned at a distance. She thought Su Chen's plan to lure the enemy alone was far too risky. He had instructed her that when he pointed at someone, she should shoot. However, the curtains in the room suddenly closed, and Bai Kang was startled, wondering why that had happened. Soon after, she heard the boss order them to kill Su Chen, and she thought it might already be too late to help him. When she managed to get in, she found everyone dead, with Su Chen holding the boss by the neck. The man said he couldn't kill him because his subordinates wouldn't let him leave alive. Su Chen snapped his neck, saying he didn't have to worry about that since they would all be going to the same place as the boss. Bai Kang was impressed by Su Chen's power, but he explained that there were no more supplies at the location, as they had probably already been consumed. She asked what would happen to the students, and Su Chen thought that, if necessary, he could share some of the supplies he had just obtained from the warehouse. It all depended on the group's behavior. Su Chen explained they needed to go to the girls' dormitory, which made Bai Kang ask why. He replied that Xiao Feng and the others were gathered there. The scene then shifted to a place where some people were tied by their hands, but one of them had a different look in their eyes. A man was watching and remarked that this person was causing trouble again, asking if this time he had died. At that moment, they untied a woman who had been hanging there for days, pretending to be a prisoner. They asked if she had found the feeling she was looking for, and she replied that she needed the comfort of that man. The man then whipped her on the back and asked how she felt. With a passionate expression, she said she felt much better. He wanted to know who had stolen their supplies, and the woman claimed it was the work of a demon named Su Chen. The scene changed again, showing Bai Kang meeting Xiaofeng. Xiaofeng asked what Su Chen was doing there, and he replied that Xiaofeng's injury looked serious, asking to examine it. Xiaofeng said it was just a scratch, but for some reason the wound was worsening. Su Chen explained that it was caused by cannibals, whose claws carried dangerous bacteria and viruses, and that if left untreated, it could be fatal. He then handed Xiaofeng a box of medicine, leaving everyone impressed by the amount. Su Chen thought that in his past life there had been a man in the organization with combat power comparable to an atomic bomb, known as God Feng, and that man was Xiaofeng, so investing in him would not be a loss. Xiaofeng said he owed Su Chen, but he knew he hadn't come all this way just to deliver medicine. Su Chen then explained that a massive flood was coming due to extreme heat, causing the glaciers to melt rapidly, and soon the entire school would be submerged, making evacuation necessary. A woman named Fang Qing accused him of just wanting to drive them away to monopolize the school's resources. Su Chen recognized her as his classmate, a second-generation rich girl and a notorious feminist activist at the University of Technology, known for stirring up conflict between men and women. She asked if he had food in his backpack, but when she tried to grab it, Su Chen slapped her in the face. Those around them cheered and asked for her expulsion since her family was extremely wealthy. Furious, Fang Qing said they were all disgusting, and that when she found her father, he would kill them all. On her way out, she was captured by a man who wanted to know where Su Chen was. Meanwhile, Su Chen was thinking that the most important thing was to wait for the rat snake to mutate and then capture it, wondering if he could gain a water control ability. At that moment, he saw Fang Qing tied up, and the man beyond her said he was from the evolution base, asking if Su Chen was the one who had dared to steal their supplies. The man genuinely seemed to believe Su Chen was some sort of monster with 3 heads and 6 arms. Su Chen asked if the man really was from the evolution base, and he confirmed it, saying he had even prepared a welcome gift. Opening the truck, he revealed several drought demons who taunted Su Chen, asking if he was ready to die. Meanwhile, Bai Kang was warning Xiaofeng that they needed to stay on guard. Back with Su Chen, the man said that since the girl was his classmate, he would give him a chance to save her and play the hero, but only if he kneeled and begged. Su Chen replied that saving her wasn't impossible, but there was a small problem. Fang Qing, annoyed, asked what the problem was and if he was going back on his word. He said that of course he was a man, but he didn't consider himself worthy of saving her, suggesting she ask the foreign knights for help instead. Surprised, she asked if this was because of what she had said earlier, insisting she would not humble herself or apologize, as that would only prove Su Chen had no shame. She declared she didn't need him to save her. Smiling, Su Su Chen said he hoped she remembered those words later, since the drought demons were about to bite her leg. As they began to attack her, Fangqing panicked, shouting that she was wrong and begging for help. Watching the scene, the man commented that Su Chen was impressive for not being afraid to watch someone die in front of him, and promised to show him the evolution-basis technology. He took out a jar and explained that by spreading that powder over his body, the monsters would immediately obey him. Su Chen replied that sprinkling ashes on himself would only confuse the monsters. The man then ordered them to attack Su Chen, but he quickly drew 2 katanas from his storage and sliced all the monsters in half, leaving the man shocked by his speed and skill. At that moment, Bai Kang and Xiaofeng arrived to help, but soon realized they were surrounded. The man, stressed, asked what Su Chen was doing, but he told him to stop shouting, saying it was useless. In an instant, Su Chen teleported behind him and declared that he didn't want to get involved with the evolution base. But since the man had tried to kill him, he couldn't let him live. Then, with brutality, Su Chen ripped off his head, leaving Bai Kang stunned and wondering what kind of monster he was. The scene shifted to Duanya, who was having a nightmare in which Su Chen abandoned her. Upon waking, she told herself she had dreamed of him again and wondered when he would return. Determined, she thought that she would not become a burden to him. With a weapon in hand, she declared that she would become Su Chen's right hand. He opened a door, saying he had heard a strange sound coming from inside. The moment she turned, a drought demon appeared right in front of her. Startled, she realized that the table was blocking her path. When she tried to use her weapon, she accidentally dropped it. As the demon lunged to bite her, it hit only the chair. At that moment, she realized the monster was tracking her by scent, as it didn't seem to see. She concluded that if she made any sound, she would surely die. Moving slowly to retrieve the weapon, she ended up attracting the demon's attention. However, she remembered Su Chen's teachings. With a quick motion, she used her shoe to kick the creature in the face. Taking advantage of the moment the monster fell, she grabbed an axe and muttered to herself that it was a shame Su Chen wasn't there to see that she wasn't useless. She then decided to extract the crystal core from the creature's brain, exactly as he had taught her. Meanwhile, at the University of Technology, Bai Kang and Xiaofeng followed Su Chen's advice and began organizing the evacuation of the students. Bai Kang contacted her brother, Bai Ming, asking him to lead the troops to ensure everyone's safety. At the same time, the Rat Snake King was undergoing special mutations. Su Chen was curious to see how far the transformation would go. He prepared a large bucket of water, knowing the creature needed it to complete the mutation. As soon as it entered the water, the creature transformed, becoming gigantic. Su Chen remarked to himself that if just one bucket of water caused this growth, a flood would be an enormous problem. Still, he said that if the snake submitted, he could accept it as a pet. However, it tried to flee. He lamented that its speed wasn't enough to escape. When he struck it, his katana broke. Since the blade was useless, he decided to crush it with his bare hands. He landed a powerful punch, but the snake quickly coiled around him. Just as it was about to devour him, the scene shifted to Bai Kang speaking with Bai Ming. She commented that if Su Chen never spoke to anyone, people would think he was mute. Bai Ming asked if she really liked him, because if he stayed there, he would end up dead. Bai Kang replied that wouldn't happen, because from the first time she saw him, she could tell he was incredibly strong, almost like a monster. Back in the fight, Su Chen grabbed the snake by the neck. He remembered that snakes had highly developed nerves and could still bite even after being decapitated. He threw it to the ground, stomped on its mouth, split it in half, and took its crystal core, saying he wanted to see what ability he would get. It was then narrated that extreme heat had destroyed humanity's will, and afterward, the flood that swept across the entire world completely wiped out human civilization. Not even Jiangnan City escaped the devastation. The University of Technology, not being on high ground, saw nearly all its buildings swallowed by water, with only tall structures like the administration buildings remaining. Meanwhile, having already absorbed the Rat Snake King's core, Su Chen dove into the floodwaters. Thanks to his new ability, his body had transformed. As he entered the water, small snake scales began to grow on his skin, and his strength increased considerably. Su Chen's eyes became sensitive to light, and a thin membrane formed over them. He realized he wasn't breathing through his mouth or nose, yet he felt no suffocation, as if he were breathing through his skin. Although it wasn't a water control ability, the capacity to breathe underwater was extremely useful. He noticed that the floodwaters were rising toward the Green Tree Hotel. Swimming back against the current wasn't impossible, but the force was violent, and the floating debris acted as deadly weapons. At the same time, the volcanic eruption seemed to have reached its peak, and once the massive amount of ash filled the sky, the sun would be blocked, signaling that the winter apocalypse was not far away. Su Chen thought that in the face of such a catastrophe, human civilization was a joke, and to avoid becoming prey, one had to keep growing stronger. In his past life, he remembered that several powerful factions had risen in Chengdu after the Great Flood. The north of the city, a low-lying area, had been occupied by the Snake King and the aquatic ghoul army of the Corpse Queen. The south belonged to the cannibal tribe led by the Taoti clan. The west was under the control of the Rat King's army, while the east was ruled by Gao Qiang, the infamous skull crusher of the Green Tree Hotel. Su Chen had nearly lost his life to them in the past. Now, having already defeated Gao Qiang and the Snake King, his next goal was to obtain the remaining crystal cores. However, the Taoti clan had large numbers, and the Corpse Queen's group was shrouded in mystery. In his previous life, he also remembered that a rat plague had broken out at the University of Technology, and he believed the Rat King was still there. If he found it early, he could obtain the crystal core with minimal effort. As he analyzed the situation, Su Chen looked down and realized he was completely surrounded. Two men were trying to escape the flood when one of them noticed someone approaching. It was Su Chen himself. Angry, they said they were only there because they had been assigned to watch him. The man in the higher position remarked that the boy was incredibly fast and seemed to be followed by something. They wondered what those creatures were behind him and how he could swim so quickly against the current. The two men shouted that they were from the evolution base and ordered him not to come closer. Su Chen was surprised that, in this life, the base's influence had already spread so early. He saw it as a good opportunity to find out what was going on and, without hesitation, climbed up to them and kicked one man in the head, sending him falling. The other caught his companion's arm, preventing him from being swept away. From above, Su Chen demanded they tell him everything about the evolution base. The man refused, saying he would never reveal anything. Just then, his friend was pulled underwater by one of the monsters. Su Chen simply commented that since he had been dragged down, he couldn't be blamed anymore. The man jumped into the water to save his friend, but just as both were about to be devoured, Su Chen intervened and rescued them. This made them wonder if he was really human. After everything, they returned to the surface, and one of the men said he would tell what he knew. He explained that they had been sent by the volunteer base to monitor him, and that this base was located at the University of Technology, organized around lab researchers led by Liu. Su Chen remembered that in his past life, the rat plague had started precisely at the University of Technology, and he realized this infestation might also be connected to the evolution base. He asked if they were researching mutant rats in the lab, but the man replied that only researchers could enter, so he didn't know anything. Even so, Su Chen decided he needed to investigate before the plague began. Meanwhile, Duanya, still at the Green Tree Hotel, had managed to extract the crystal core from a drought demon's brain. She was startled to see that the water had reached that floor. At that moment, several tentacles wrapped around her, preventing her from moving. There were so many that she could barely react, and she hadn't yet had time to adapt to her new ability. She remembered what Su Chen had told her. Upon consuming a crystal core, one would gain an ability, but it was hard to predict which. She also recalled asking him how to use a power she didn't yet know, and he had answered that she just needed to feel the changes in her body to master it. At that moment, Duanya felt a strange energy flowing inside her. She focused and sensed the creatures' minds, ordering them to stop. Instantly, they froze. With her axe, she finished each one off, complaining about being filthy and saying she needed a bath. Suddenly, a voice behind her asked if he could join her. Startled, Duanya turned to see Su Chen. Overjoyed, she ran and hugged him, saying she had been worried about him. But when she embraced him, she felt something strange against her and realized he was completely naked. The scene shifted to the two bathing together in a tub. Su Chen asked if she had awakened an ability, and she wanted to know if he had seen everything. He replied that he hadn't seen, but could tell by the temperature of her mouth, then asked what her new power was. Duanya said it was probably a mental control ability. He then asked if it worked on food, but she admitted she didn't know and would need to train. Dressed in fresh clothes, Su Chen suggested they practice like last time. At that moment, he released a sinister aura, frightening her. She wondered what kind of mental power that was and realized that, without his consent, she would have fainted trying to influence him. Su Chen praised her ability, and so they began a peculiar training session. The next day, Su Chen was teaching Duanya how to shoot. She asked if he had the time, since he needed to go to the University of Technology, but he said he wanted to help her get comfortable with the weapon. He also asked if she had said before that she was from the University of Medicine, and when she confirmed, he asked what was wrong with that. Su Chen told Duanya it was time for her to prove her usefulness to him. They traveled by boat, and she asked if it was okay to dress the way she was. He replied that even if she wore nothing, no one would dare do anything to her. During the trip, Duanya asked if he had ever been to the University of Technology. Su Chen said he had only gone to see one person, but didn't know if she had survived. After some time, they finally arrived at the University of Technology. As soon as they disembarked, Su Chen shielded Duanya because someone was shooting at them. The armed man asked who they were, and Su Chen thought this was the place where the mutant Rat King had appeared. He He said he was there to join the evolution base and asked them to open the gate. The man, however, showed interest in Duanya, saying that if she spent the night with him, she could enter, but Su Chen should turn back. She then presented a plate full of pork, asking them to let them in. Surprised that they had braised pork, the man told a friend to open the gate quickly. When the boat was docked, everyone rushed to eat the food. However, the plate didn't contain pork, but the hand of a monster, which the man devoured under Duanya's mental influence. One of the men offered to show them the way, explaining that everyone was living in the base and helping each other. He said the lower floor was for the elderly, children, and thugs, and that he would take them to a clean room upstairs. On the way, he bumped into a child and scolded her to watch where she was going. Seeing the frail, hungry girl, Duanya gave her a piece of bread. The girl, however, asked if Bunny Sister wouldn't be hungry, making Duanya blush. Su Chen stepped in, saying that Bunny Sister wouldn't go hungry, but the girl retorted that he was lying because everyone there was starving. Smiling, he said she could doubt his character, but not his strength, and with his ability, made a feast appear before her. Everyone wondered where the food had come from. At that moment, some men arrived asking who was cooking, saying that all supplies had to be handed to them before being distributed, and demanded to know who was breaking the rules. The little girl was frightened, but Duanya reassured her and said that if they wanted food, they'd better enjoy it. Then, she revealed a massive banquet, which everyone threw themselves at without hesitation. The men commented that she was very understanding and therefore wouldn't be punished, but the man beside her certainly would. They declared his punishment would be a fight to the death against two opponents. When he saw the opponents, Su Chen realized they were the same people he had seen during the flood. The little girl began to cry, saying those two were her brothers and begging for them to be spared. The men explained that the two had been given a mission but had failed to deliver contribution points in return. Therefore, they were sentenced to death. However, killing them directly would be a waste, so they had arranged this fight instead. The man said that since they knew each other, the duel would be much more interesting. He added that if Su Chen lost, Duanya and the girl's brothers would all be sent to the bottom of the sea. Su Chen noticed that those men were in a frenzied state and wondered if someone had used some kind of drug on them. At that moment, the men released the two hostages, who immediately rushed at Su Chen. However, he reacted quickly and managed to knock them both out at the same time, putting them to sleep. The little girl present began to cry, but Duanya tried to calm her, saying that everyone would be fine. One of the men couldn't believe Su Chen had defeated the opponent so quickly. With an arrogant tone, he said that since he was in a good mood, he would pretend nothing had happened if Su Chen handed over all his supplies. Su Chen questioned why he should give up what was his, and the man explained that everyone needed to obey the orders of Chief Liu. Another added that it was necessary to accumulate contribution points, which could be obtained by trading found resources or delivering supply points. Su Chen thought about the possibility that these points worked like money and realized that it was advantageous for certain people to create rules like that. He replied that his supplies had already been consumed by them and therefore they had nothing left. At that moment, a man appeared offering them work, promising lodging, food, and a high salary. However, while speaking, one of the people carrying him on his back stumbled and fell and was brutally killed by him. The chief said he was short on staff and would accept Su Chen, but showed greater interest in the bunny girl who accompanied him, even offering instant noodles every day. He also commented that he was tired of the woman sitting on his lap. The henchman reinforced that the chief's offer was generous and asked them not to be ungrateful. Since the captain had gotten a new woman, he declared that he would let the others have fun with the previous ones. Soon after, he asked what that smell was and what they had eaten. The men were shocked as they had eaten meat in secret. They immediately knelt and apologized, promising that from then on, any food found would be delivered to the chief. However, the captain told them to shut up, complaining that they all smelled like feces and ordered them to move away because of the stench. Su Chen wondered if he had been affected by Duanya's ability. Then, the men began spitting blood and saying they needed to go to the bathroom. Su Chen found it strange, as he didn't feel any ability emanating from that man. However, the influence of the chief caused everyone to wake up from the mind control. Su Chen still didn't know exactly who Liu was, but by observing his subordinates, he realized that he would not be an easy enemy. Moreover, killing him at that moment would cause problems for his plans, since his priority was to find the mutant rat king. Chief Liu asked what he thought of his offer, but Su Chen replied that he was not interested. The man then said that one day he would regret it and beg for his help, ordering Lu Tul to take the position left by the dead man. Duanya apologized, saying that the man's strength was too great and that her ability had no effect on him. Su Chen assured her that it wasn't her fault, noting that those men had eaten aquatic monsters and didn't die, which indicated something strange. He told her to stay alert. Soon after, the man reappeared, saying they would not let Su Chen leave and that he should go with him immediately. Su Chen asked how he knew his name, and the man revealed that he was Miao Pu Yuan. Miao Pu Yuan revealed that he was Tianyue's roommate and that the two had had met the last time he had gone to the school. Meanwhile, the chief ordered Miao to keep an eye on a certain woman and not let absolutely anyone escape, as in the middle of the apocalypse, it was rare to find someone as beautiful as her. Meanwhile, Duan Ya was helping some people along with the little girl. Su Chen asked if all the students were living in that place, and Miao Puyuan explained that they were. He also said that since Tian Yue used to help people there, the place had become the territory of the field operations department. At that moment, Tian Yue appeared and wanted to know if Su Chen was interested in joining the group. However, as soon as he recognized him, he ran to hug him, happy to see him alive. He was soon impressed to notice that next to Su Chen was the legendary Ice Queen of the University of Science and Technology, Anna, famous for her beauty and presence. He even asked Miao Puyuan how that goddess ended up dressed as a bunny girl. Feeling embarrassed, Duan Ya told Su Chen she needed to change clothes. The two wondered why he was hugging the goddess, but then pointed out a room where she could change. Tian Yue asked why they hadn't brought any bags from where they came from, and Su Chen asked if common missions were dangerous. Tian Yue replied that everywhere was dangerous nowadays, and asked him not to leave, as the world outside was even worse. He suggested that Su Chen join the field team, saying he could take care of him, and emphasized that a skilled doctor like Duan Ya wouldn't even need to go out to get food, only to treat the injured. Even so, Tian Yue gave a warning. In the future, Su Chen should not let her show off like that, walking around in a bunny costume in the middle of the apocalypse. Su Chen replied that there was no need to worry, because he would protect her. Tian Yue then reminded him that Su Chen had suffered a lot of bullying in high school, and that he himself had protected him back then. He also said that the captain of the elite guard was a wicked man, and women who got involved with him never met a good fate, especially someone as beautiful as Duan Ya, who certainly wouldn't go unnoticed by him. While Duan Ya was changing clothes, a woman entered and placed a knife against her neck, asking who she was and what she wanted. She said that the captain had ordered her to arrange accommodations for her, and that, because she was a woman, she could not sleep among the men. Duan Ya replied that there was no need for any of that, but the woman insisted, saying that the captain wanted to see her. With a firm gaze, Duan Ya reaffirmed that it was unnecessary and used her mind control ability to make the woman release her. Even though she acknowledged that it was difficult to control the mental strength of that opponent, Duan Ya managed to immobilize her for a brief moment. However, the woman stabbed her own hand to break the mental control and overpowered her again, stating that she had almost fallen for her dirty trick. At that moment, Su Chen knocked on the door, asking why she was taking so long. The woman ordered Duan Ya to remain silent, but it was useless. Su Chen kicked the door open and saw the whole scene. When the woman tried to attack him, she froze in fear upon recognizing the man who, at the University of Engineering, was known as Demon Su Chen. Her instincts screamed that if she fought him, she would die. Immediately, she knelt at his feet and begged to be punished. With a serious look, Su Chen asked who her master was. The woman asked Su Chen if he wanted to hear her sincerity and, to everyone's shock, began undressing in front of him. The next instant, she threw a smoke bomb and tried to escape, but Su Chen was faster and grabbed her by the neck, telling her she could not get away from him. Desperate, she begged him not to kill her and asked if he remembered the girl he had saved, mentioning that she and her two brothers had been taken to the arena. Showing no interest, Su Chen said he didn't care and tossed her into the sea. Tian Yue was curious about who the girl mentioned was, and another person present explained that it was Xiao Mei and her two brothers. He commented that the elite guard had probably captured them shortly after they left, and if they weren't rescued, they would end up being devoured by rats. This piqued Su Chen's interest, as he was precisely looking for those creatures. The scene then shifted to the chief, who was scolding Xiao Mei's brothers for failing their mission, calling it an offense to the capital. He said that if they entered the arena, he might give them a second chance. One brother told Xiao Mei to run away as fast as she could, but the girl refused to leave them and asked if surviving would mean they would be freed. The chief replied yes, as long as she managed to come out alive. At that moment, a giant rat appeared behind Xiao Mei and bit her arm. She remembered when her brothers had found poisonous mushrooms and eaten them first to protect her, confirming that they were indeed dangerous. At the time, they promised that by completing the mission, they would earn contribution points and never go hungry again. But now, the situation was completely different. The chief kicked them, hanging them up, and ordered them to shut up. Determined, Xiao Mei grabbed a piece of wood and drove it into the rat's eye, managing to free herself and declaring that she would save her brothers. However, the rat caught her again and immobilized her. The chief, smiling with disdain, said that trash like her deserved to die. Crying on the ground, Xiao Mei begged for help, not knowing who could save her at that moment. To everyone's surprise, Su Chen appeared and struck a devastating blow to the rat's head, making it explode. His strength left everyone stunned. Upon examining the body, Su Chen realized there was no crystal core and that the monster seemed to be just a variation of the mutant creatures. The chief, enraged, declared that if Su Chen wanted death, he would grant it. Meanwhile, Duanya and her allies managed to rescue Xiaomei and her brothers. One of the brothers thanked the doctor for saving them, but Xiaomei made sure to say that the one who had truly saved them was Su Chen. Elsewhere, the scarred woman was speaking with a man who asked if that was the special research material she had mentioned. She confirmed, explaining that with it, they could solve the problem of unstable apocalyptic genes, revealing that those rats were the result of the latest technology, bigger and fiercer than before. The man remarked that if Su Chen were to die there, he would not be worthy of being used as experimental material. Su Chen quickly defeated all the rats, but grew frustrated upon realizing that none of them had a crystal core. Then, the man declared that Su Chen was the experiment he needed and ordered Chief Guo and Tianyue to capture him, dead or alive. Xiaomei urged Duanya to leave as quickly as possible, but she refused, stating that she would not leave while Su Chen was still there. Meanwhile, Guo commented to Tianyue that he had heard the two were brothers, but pointed out that they had only survived the apocalypse because of the chief, and now Tianyue needed to make a choice. Su Chen asked Tianyue what was going on, and he explained that the man upstairs was named Liu Henyun. At the start of the apocalypse, Liu had developed a potion capable of making people stronger, using it to take control of the entire school. However, the potion required trading a large portion of one's life force for power, and when someone stopped receiving it, they became weaker than anyone else. Su Chen asked if, should he find a way to solve that problem, Tianyue would join him, but his brother replied that they had no choice. Guo laughed, pleased to see the two brothers at odds, and moved in to attack Su Chen. However, Tianyue shocked everyone by kicking Guo in the face, leaving him outraged that he would betray the chief. Tianyue replied that he would no longer allow people to be controlled by potions and declared that he would fight them to the death. This reassured Su Chen, as it confirmed his brother was on his side. As Su Chen fought Guo, the latter began to laugh, revealing that the chief already knew Tianyue might betray him, so he had given him a level 2 potion. Now the fat on his body was the most resilient defense in the world. Guo attacked Tianyue, who managed to block, but the impact was so strong that he coughed up blood. On top of that, Guo wielded a weapon charged with electricity. When it seemed all was lost, Su Chen saved his brother, catching the attention of Liu Henyun. The chief remarked that this was very interesting, and explained that, in his pursuit to evolve humans into perfect beings, he had exhausted his resources and talent, but a recent experiment represented a major breakthrough. He believed Su Chen could become the first perfect human. Su Chen asked if he was referring to the rats, and Liu confirmed, saying their genes were the closest to humans. He intended to use those genes to create an army of rat men and then conquer the world. Upon hearing this, Su Chen replied that it was stupid, prompting a woman to fire a dart at him. Su Chen dodged, and the projectile struck Guo squarely in the chest, triggering a grotesque transformation. Liu explained that Guo was already tough because he was a sumo wrestler, and that the level 3 potion he had just received further increased his strength, with enhancement and recovery abilities. With disdain, Su Chen flipped him off and said he didn't care, since all he was doing was turning people into monsters. The monster Guo charged at Su Chen, but was stopped with a single hand. Su Chen stated that electricity alone wouldn't be enough to kill him, then summoned a battery and shoved it into his opponent's mouth. When Guo bit down, there was an explosion that stunned everyone. Liu praised the strategy, but reminded them that the potion also had regenerative properties. Sure enough, Guo began to heal in an even more terrifying way. Irritated, Su Chen charged in again, but thought to himself that few people knew his true power and it was best to keep it that way. He kicked up a cloud of dust so that no one could clearly see the fight. While Guo regenerated, Su Chen revealed that he hadn't stored only supplies in his space, but also a variety of secret weapons. Then he began hurling a massive amount of debris at his enemy, producing a deafening crash that left everyone wondering what was happening. Even Chief Liu was wondering what Su Chen was doing. When the dust settled, Su Chen was sitting on top of a pile of construction materials, while the enemy was completely buried. Manager Liu, frightened, questioned where that amount of debris had come from, and considered ensuring that the opponent would die from being buried alive. However, Su Chen told him to look around, since everyone was already dead, and declared that he wouldn't let anyone leave alive. At that moment, Duanya warned that they were completely surrounded, and that all those people had turned into rat men. Su Chen explained that his target was Chief Liu, and that, as long as he remained alive, the situation would never end. He added that he was leaving the rest to them. Frightened, Duanya said she would control everyone and told him not to worry. Su Chen replied that if she couldn't handle it, she just had to call him. Determined, Duanya summoned her allies and focused on controlling the minds of all those enemies, realizing she had never commanded so many people at once. She only asked the others to focus on killing them all. Meanwhile, Chief Liu's subordinates reported that Su Chen had removed the building's security team and invaded Miss Yun's room. Chief Liu ordered them to add the apocalypse gene to vial number 5. One of the men warned that that the genetic fusion was still unstable, but Chief Liu demanded they do exactly as he said, claiming he would deal with Su Chen personally. While walking through the place, Su Chen found Yun Yun and wondered how she had ended up there. He broke the glass and freed her. When she opened her eyes, she recognized him, and he assured her he would get her out. At that moment, Chief Liu appeared, attacking Su Chen and ordering him to take his filthy hands off the woman he had chosen. Su Chen realized the attack was actually an ice ability. He then questioned if the man thought that woman was some kind of merchandise. Chief Liu replied that in the apocalypse, people were nothing but ants, and that, as the bearer of evolutionary power, he would rule the world. To him, it was an honor for that girl to become his woman. Su Chen concluded that he really was as crazy as the rumors said. Frightened, Yun Yun hugged Su Chen, which made Chief Liu jealous, claiming that woman was his. When he tried to attack again, Yun Yun kissed Su Chen, driving the enemy into a rage and making him threaten to send them both to hell together. He declared they would witness the power of a god and then transformed into a humanoid rat. Su Chen told Yun to rest and eat some chocolate, but Chief Liu was already in front of him. With a single blow, Su Chen disintegrated half of his opponent's body and asked if that was all he had. Yun then asked if the people downstairs were his friends and stated she wouldn't take his things for free. She grabbed a chair, broke the glass, and said she was going to help them. As she jumped, she activated her ability and transformed into a giant woman, leaving everyone shocked. She introduced herself as Yun Yun, a friend of Su Chen, but soon realized she was completely naked. When the rat men started attacking her, she stomped on them, but ended up crying because, despite her size, she was afraid of rats. From above, Su Chen commented that Yun Yun also had a very powerful ability. However, several rats began climbing her body, and he realized that defeating Chief Liu would not be easy. Chief Liu trapped Su Chen inside his own body, claiming it was practically immortal. Meanwhile, the people fighting below were puzzled when the rats stopped attacking, realizing that all of them were looking up. High above, a monster appeared, making some wonder if it was the Rat King. At that moment, Yun told everyone to get out of her way and asked where Su Chen was. Chief Liu replied that he no longer existed, and soon the rats began attacking again en masse, overwhelming those in battle. Suddenly, a hand from Su Chen emerged from Chief Liu's chest. He apologized for taking so long to find the crystal core, then split the Rat King's body in half, declaring that he finally had the crystal. Meanwhile, Su Chen's friends were still fighting the rat men. One ended up captured, another was exhausted and close to his limit, and Yun Yun was starting to feel hungry again. In the midst of the battle, a monstrous creature landed among them. Duanya feared that Su Chen had failed, but the creature reassured her, revealing itself with his voice. Su Chen realized that the consciousness within the crystal core was still trying to devour him, but his mental strength was far greater, and he had no intention of losing. Tianrui asked if that being was really his brother, and Su Chen replied that he had done an excellent job. Then he looked at the surrounding rats and ordered them to disappear, making them all flee in fear. He thought that, even without being the true Rat King, simply possessing the crystal core was enough to intimidate them. At that moment, Tianyue began coughing intensely. Concerned, Su Chen asked if he was all right, and his brother revealed that what had been injected into him was actually a type of poison. He explained that it made people incredibly strong, but the more they used their power, the deeper the poisoning became. Su Chen asked how he could help, and was told that in Chief Liu's laboratory there was a gigantic corpse whose blood could be used to create a serum capable of curing him. Determined to act, Su Chen headed to the laboratory. On the way, he felt an intense oppression, as if there were a black hole in the area. Upon entering, he passed through what seemed to be a mental energy barrier and found a woman sitting inside. She called him colleague Lu, which made him think he had been mistaken. Looking into a mirror, he realized he had taken on Lu's form. Even suspecting it might be an illusion, he knew he had to wake up quickly. The woman asked him to sit beside her. When he did, she began to undress, and Su Chen concluded that he might have entered Chief Lu's mind. She explained she was only taking off her coat because the laboratory was stuffy. During their conversation, Su Chen asked if an object he saw was a crab, and she wanted to know if he was familiar with that animal's parasites. He replied yes, identifying it as a common parasite found in crabs. She confirmed, saying that parasite used its host for protection and lived in coexistence with it. The woman commented that she hadn't expected a visit from Liu and that his body looked more trained. Sitting on his lap, she heard Su Chen ask if she was trying to conduct an experiment on him. She replied that a test with him would be much more complex and would require a lot of time. Then she noted that the moon looked strange and told him that, as time passed, the situation had worsened until they ran out of food. Chief Liu, irritated because she had eaten his share, ended up grabbing a knife and taking her life, saying that at least this way he would have food again. Right after, Su Chen witnessed another of Chief Liu's memories, in which a rat evolved rapidly after consuming human flesh. Next, he saw Liu creating a detoxification serum from blood, while the woman's body split in half and restrained by chains, was being used as an object of his experiments. Chief Liu stated that this woman was a perfect research specimen. With the data he possessed, he could call her a carrier of the apocalypse genes and was eager to discover what surprises her brain might hold. Even so, he declared that the teacher would not die. He then grabbed a chainsaw and began searching for the crystal core inside her. After some time, the woman asked why he wasn't eating, since he seemed to want it so much. Chief Liu responded by smashing the object in his hand, saying it was nothing but a piece of rotten meat. She asked how he had found out, and he explained that if it were truly the crystal core, she would have been dead long ago. At that moment, the illusion in which Su Chen took the form of Chief Liu completely shattered. The woman commented that he had destroyed her illusion. Su Chen stated that he would open her brain with his own hands, but she asked him to wait, saying she was just a wounded woman and could grant him her power if he let her go. He refused, explaining that once the crab parasite enters a host's body, the host inevitably loses consciousness. He then opened her head, removed the crystal core, and realized there was likely an antidote among the potion vials in the room. It was explained that when the crab parasite settles inside a host, it spreads root-like branches throughout the body, connecting various parts and taking full control of its movements, turning the host into its slave. The scene shifts to the moment when the Great Flood had receded, and the undead that had been submerged underwent new mutations. Yunyun asked Duanya where Su Chen was taking the medical students. Duanya replied that the fugitive ratmen were hiding near the University of Science and Technology, a place that was no longer safe for humans. Since those survivors were rare talents in the apocalypse, Su Chen planned to take them to the settlement area. Yunyun complained that the journey would be long, said she was hungry, and that she would go look for Su Chen, but Duanya didn't allow it, believing it was for her own good. Duanya remembered that the night before, Su Chen had been acting strangely, almost manic, possibly as a side effect of the crystal core. After the flood receded, bacteria, viruses, and even plants had mutated, and many settlements had fallen due to the lack of doctors. At that moment, doctors were extremely valuable resources, and if used correctly, they could ensure the survival and development of a settlement of their own. Su Chen thought that even if new factions emerged in the future, he would have the resources to resist. Moreover, Union had discovered a method to produce recovery potion serum, which greatly aided in the recovery of Tianyue and the others. All the supplies and research from the laboratory were taken into his personal storage space. The Rat King's core enhanced his berserk ability, increased his physical strength, and also granted him an ice ability. Although he could only condense small amounts at the moment, he planned to strengthen it in the future. There was also a starving mutant corpse in the laboratory, whose crystal core granted him 2 mental type abilities, though he did not acquire the illusion power. While talking, some men asked about a noise they heard, and Su Chen revealed that his first mental ability was mental perception. This new ability likely came from the mutant corpse, allowing Su Chen to see the heat emitted by the blood of creatures within a 30-meter radius. Using it, he realized they were about to walk into an ambush set by the Taotie clan. Xiao Miao then told them to look up, where they saw a woman tied up in the middle of a traffic light. A boy recognized her as a roommate named Rui. As everyone prepared to help her, Su Chen warned them not to meddle in other people's affairs, but the woman insisted he was being too cold and that they couldn't just stand by. They tried to untie the ropes, but were attacked. One of the men grabbed the woman and commented that she smelled nice, while her friend was killed by another attacker. One of the creatures suggested keeping her alive for breeding, since her scent was so appealing. Duanya asked if it was bait, and Su Chen confirmed it. When she asked if they were safe, he replied it was exactly the opposite. They were completely surrounded by the Taotie clan. Determined to test his new ability, Su Chen activated his corpse control technique, making the undead attack the enemies. When they tried to escape, he blocked the exit and declared that, since the Taotie clan had no crystal cores, he would let the mutant corpses play with them. The scene shifts to the Hecheng settlement area. A man appeared, asking who dared to invade his territory. Duanya explained they were coming from the University of Science and Technology, but he replied that people like them were not welcome and should leave. Duanya argued that it was a settlement area and therefore he couldn't expel them. She tried to control the man's mind but failed, becoming frustrated at the uselessness of her power in that situation. The man advanced to attack her, but another stepped in, saying it wasn't necessary. The settlement captain questioned how ordinary people had managed to pass through the Taotie clan's territory and implied they might be spies trying to infiltrate. Su Chen replied that, in that case, he would take the dozens of doctors he had to another settlement. This surprised the guards, who hadn't expected the group to have so many doctors. One of the young men recognized Su Chen and told the captain they were his friends, people who had risked their lives to help them. He assured that if Su Chen said he had that many doctors, it was true. Still suspicious, the The captain stated it didn't matter, but if they couldn't heal the wounded, Su Chen would be held responsible. Xiaofeng reassured Su Chen, telling him not to worry about Captain Sun, but warned that he had arrived just in time, as there were critically injured patients needing treatment. The scene changes, revealing a woman whose body was covered in mushrooms. Xiaofeng explained they had tried to clean her, but the fungi grew back even faster, leaving her weaker by the moment. Su Chen identified the infection as being caused by a mutant fungus and warned that even plants were undergoing mutations. He instructed them to warn everyone about the danger of plant sprouts and to avoid any stings. Duanya asked if those mushrooms were using people as nutrients, and Su Chen replied that they probably were. Another man said he would try to prepare some medicine, but Su Chen knew this was only the beginning. If they didn't eliminate the mutant plants quickly, they would spread and begin attacking humans. If the Taoti clan took the opportunity to attack the settlement, many people would become livestock in captivity. If that clan grew stronger, it would be a major problem for Su Chen, so he decided to assess the situation before acting. At that moment, a group of men appeared, running people over and shooting in all directions. Su Chen asked if the Kanghu team wasn't going to intervene, but Xiaofeng replied that the team had already been dissolved. He also explained that the aggressor was the son of the city lord and believed that children and the elderly were useless to the settlement, which was why he attacked them without mercy. The man quickly noticed the newcomers and asked Yun Yun if she wanted a ride. She replied that she was very hungry, couldn't walk anymore, and asked them to carry her. Xiaofeng was irritated by his audacity, but Su Chen said not to worry, as long as they really helped her up. The man then suggested she get in the car. However, as soon as Yun Yun jumped inside, she activated her ability to grow giant, completely destroying the vehicle. The captain wondered what the noise had been, while one of the men lay on the ground with a broken leg from Yun Yun's butt drop. She mocked them, saying they were too weak to withstand even a simple sit-down. The injured boy stood up angrily, calling her a monster and accusing her of destroying the car and breaking his leg. Duanya then activated her mind control, making everyone involved believe the accident had been caused by a car fall. Only the boy who resisted her control shouted that everyone was against him and called for his father's help. At that moment, the city lord arrived and asked what was going on. His son begged him to kill everyone there, but to everyone's surprise, the lord slapped him in the face and said he had already ordered people to be treated kindly. He emphasized that their goal was to turn that place into a beacon in the apocalypse. Those present were impressed, commenting that he was a good man. He then invited everyone to stay and work together toward that dream, promising food and better conditions for all. When Xiaofeng went to talk to Su Chen, he realized he had already vanished. The scene shifted to the group gathered around a campfire. Yun asked why they didn't stay in that city. Duanya explained that she had broken the city lord's son's leg and that the army there was likely just for show, without any real strength. Yun then asked if the three of them would spend the night in the forest and requested that Duanya teach her something, since it was her first time there. Duanya didn't quite understand what was going on, knowing that they wouldn't be able to sleep at all that night. Su Chen told them to stop playing around because someone was approaching. Soon, several men appeared, saying they had broken the city lord's son's leg and wouldn't escape so easily. Su Chen replied that he wasn't running away, just avoiding unnecessary slaughter inside the city. When the men advanced to attack him, Su Chen delivered a single punch that obliterated one of them, frightening the rest, who began shooting at him. Within seconds, he finished them all off with his swords. The last survivor, terrified, begged for his life and said he could reveal a secret about the city lord. He claimed that every week, the lord traded city refugees to the Taoti clan in exchange for food. Shortly after, they saw exactly what the man had described, witnessing a member of the Taoti clan devouring one of the guards. The man, panicking, said he had told them everything he knew and asked if he could leave. Su Chen, however, said he needed one more favor from him. Soon, the man was hung up in front of the Taotia clan, and one of the members approached to claim him as a meal. At that moment, a massive creature appeared behind them. It was Yun Yun herself, declaring that those men would be her new toys. From the top of a building, Duanya observed through her sniper scope, recalling what Su Chen had said about bullets not penetrating their skulls. To counter this, she fired 3 shots into each target at once, creating an opening for Su Chen to appear and end the situation. After that, they stayed in a house. Duanya asked how he had discovered the deal between the city lord and the Taoti clan, and Su Chen explained that he had heard about people doing such things in settlements a long time ago, but simply wanted to test and see if he could find anything. The bed and food they used had been taken from his dimensional space. Duanya remarked that if he wanted to establish a settlement, he could look for another place without getting involved in that mess. Su Chen explained that creating a base was time-consuming and laborious, so he preferred to find someone reliable and skilled for the job, and and that person was in the city of Hecheng. Meanwhile, Union was disappointed that they had started without her. Both Duanya and she said that thanks to Su Chen, they could live like humans in that apocalypse, and that night they would fulfill all his desires. The next morning, City Lord Zhang saw a bald man severely injured by the Tao Ti clan and suspected that there was some problem with the deal. He immediately ran to the clan's tribal area. The clan leader said they had lost one man, but that the other side had lost 3 warriors, demanding double the people in compensation. Lord Zhang agreed it was settled, but at that moment, Su Chen appeared, confirming their words, and revealing that he had already heard Lord Zhang was close to the Tao Ti clan. The clan members recognized Su Chen as the one who killed their friends, and the leader asked how he dared kill 3 of his subordinates. Lord Zhang stated that Su Chen would die soon, but that the people beside him would also be a problem. Back at the settlement, he declared that all traitors should pay, accusing the outsiders of pretending to be doctors to infiltrate and kidnap refugees, trading them for food with the Tao Ti clan. General Gao intervened, saying that, from what he knew, Su Chen was a very trustworthy person. Lord Zhang questioned Gao Yue about why he was trying to defend him and demanded proof that they were not traitors. Then, Su Chen, standing atop a building, said he could prove it, and presented as a witness the leader of the Tao Ti clan himself, astonishing everyone that he had defeated the entire Tao Ti clan on his own. Su Chen asked the Tao Ti clan leader to speak louder, saying he couldn't hear well. The leader then revealed that the one who had negotiated with them was, in fact, the city lord, which enraged the population against Lord Zhang. He tried to defend himself, claiming it was all slander, but it became clear he had indeed conspired with the Tao Ti clan. At that moment, General Gao delivered a powerful punch to the lord's face, calling him trash. With red eyes, Lord Zhang admitted it was true, and explained that, in the apocalypse, supplies had long been under the control of the Tao Ti clan, who were only waiting for the right moment to capture them. According to him, by sacrificing a few bandits, many people could be fed, and for that reason, he believed he was doing a good deed. However, Su Chen struck the lord in the face and said that trading people for food to survive in that era was not wrong in itself, but that it was the choice of a coward. He then invited General Gao to join him in building his new base, one that would truly belong to human civilization. While reflecting, Su Chen remembered that, in his previous life, he had traveled through ruins until he found a safe haven, a utopian base without class divisions, without cries of hunger, where everyone was well-fed, clothed, and cared for. All of it had been created by its founder, none other than General Gao Yue himself, who was now merely the city's vice-lord. Upon discovering the dark side of the place, Gao Yue decided to build his own base, and this time Su Chen would make it happen faster. Baikon commented that establishing a base would be very difficult, but another man reminded them that if they wanted to follow their own path, they couldn't remain under someone else's roof, making that decision the most sensible one. Lord Zhang, however, scoffed, saying that outside the city there were mutant beasts, and that without securing food they would all die. His son added that if they wanted to leave, they could go and die. Part of the population agreed, saying they didn't want to risk their lives, but others reminded them that Su Chen had defeated the Tao Ti clan leader and could probably bring food. They also mentioned that he was a user of a very powerful ability. Lord Zhang's son provoked him, saying Su Chen was no savior and that a base required many supplies. Su Chen replied that he didn't have much, but had enough to support around 2,000 people for a month or more. The Lord, surprised, realized that this was the same amount of supplies he had in his own warehouse, and wondered where Su Chen had gotten it all. Meanwhile, Yun crushed a man and asked why they thought Su Chen was so generous, revealing that he had simply emptied the base's warehouse. She then hugged Duanya, saying she was very hungry. Su Chen told General Gao that the time had come to make a decision. Gao Yue stated that they could no longer stay there as they had no food or clothing, and seeing that they were being sold like cattle to the Tao Ti clan, he decided to build a new base alongside Su Chen. He declared that anyone who wanted to leave should step forward, as together they would create a place where everyone could live with dignity. The entire Konghu team and the White Tiger team joined them. Lord Zhang was furious to see his army abandon him and declared that no one could leave without his permission. His son, enraged, grabbed a gun and fired at Su Chen, blaming him for everything. Su Chen swiftly dodged all the shots, grabbed the young man by the neck, and ordered the Lord to have his soldiers lower their weapons, or he would break his son's neck. Lord Zhang ordered everyone to lower their weapons. Su Chen then asked General Gao Yue to take his soldiers and the refugees out of there. Gao Yue replied that they would wait for him at Shangyun University. Lord Zhang told Su Chen that since everyone had lowered their weapons, he should release his son, and then they would each go their own way. What the Lord didn't mention was that a sniper was positioned on top of a building. Su Chen, alert signaled to Dronzer, who quickly fired and blew the sniper's head apart. He then told the Lord that he would return his son and toss the body into the father's arms. However, no one expected that there was a grenade in the young man's mouth, which exploded violently in Lord Zhang's face. Even injured, the Lord transformed and threatened to kill Su Chen. At that moment, Su Chen mentally confirmed the rumors he had heard in his previous life. Lord Zhang was, in fact, a Taoti clan infiltrator disguised as a human. What surprised him was discovering that he was level 2. Before leaving, Su Chen thought that the next time they met, the Lord wouldn't be so lucky. Changing scenes, the group located the supermarket Su Chen had mentioned, a place stocked with supplies. The goal was to completely wipe out the Taoti clan and bring all resources to the new base. However, when they arrived for the attack, they saw that the clan had already been completely wiped out. Xiaofeng reported that the supplies had been loaded into several trucks, and the fuel tank was completely full, enough to supply the new base. Captain Sun commented that he had expected a great battle, but everything had been much easier than he had imagined. Tianyue told the captain that she had heard the general had given an important mission to Su Chen, something that used to be delegated to the captain himself. Sun replied that that pretty boy could never compete with him. Meanwhile, Yunyan told Dronzer that the captain had not returned yet. Dronzer replied that the place had been wiped out by Su Chen a long time ago, and that it was only a matter of bringing the trucks back, a task that even one person could do. Yunyan explained that she wasn't worried about the captain's absence, but rather because Su Chen had left the refugees who needed medical care under her watch, and people were starving at that moment. Dronzer noticed the group approaching and said they should leave, as it would be hard to hide a giant woman in front of everyone. When the captain returned, he reported to the general that the supplies had been recovered. Among the people, comments spread that Su Chen hadn't deceived anyone and was truly the savior of that world. The captain, however, remarked that the pretty boy was very skilled at brainwashing people. Shortly after, a man reported signs of Taoti clan activity at a distant hospital to the south, estimating it to be a tribe of several dozen members. Captain Sun thought to himself that he would show Su Chen who the real savior of that place was. Meanwhile, Bai Kang was impressed by Su Chen's audacity in planning to raid an armory located in a nearby military base. The entrance to that place had been flooded long ago and was certainly infested with mutants. Bai Ming questioned how the three of them could enter such a dangerous place, but Su Chen told them not to worry and asked them to take him there. Bai Kang agreed to guide him, but said they would need a vehicle. Su Chen, however, assured them that this wouldn't be a problem and pulled a car out of his dimensional space, leaving everyone shocked and wondering if it was some kind of magic. They then got into the vehicle and headed for their destination. Meanwhile, some men were throwing people into a lake to distract the aquatic creatures. One of them reflected on how the city's supplies had mysteriously disappeared, and that if they couldn't get more resources, everyone would die. Another said that now that the aquatic ghouls had been lured away with bait, anyone who went down there would be rewarded by the city lord with a woman. One man commented that in his past life he had no money at all, but now, in the apocalypse, he was willing to risk everything. Xiaofeng explained that group was the city lord's army, and that apparently they were also after the supplies stored in the military base. Bai Kang revealed she knew a back entrance that would allow them to avoid the army, but warned that they would have to dive. Su Chen agreed with the strategy and decided to follow the plan. During the descent, Bai Kang ran out of air, and Su Chen passed oxygen to her through a kiss. At that moment, they were surrounded by aquatic mutants, but suddenly the creatures stopped, leaving Bai Kang confused and suspecting it had something to do with Su Chen. He then told Bai Ming to get ready to hunt the monsters and drew their attention to himself. As the two surfaced, they wondered if Su Chen was truly human. When he returned, Su Chen commented that there were many aquatic creatures, but he had only managed to get one white core. Bai Kang was surprised that he obtained a core so quickly and still considered it too little. Xiaofeng explained that although white cores didn't grant new abilities, they could increase the power of abilities a person already had. In the middle of the exploration, a cat suddenly appeared and stole the crystal Su Chen was carrying. Bai Kang explained that the base kept cats to control rats, and that this one in particular must be very strong to have survived the apocalypse, and still managed to snatch the crystal core from Su Chen's hands. Trying to retrieve the item, Su Chen offered it a piece of fish in exchange, but the animal was so quick that it stole that as well, leaving him irritated at being tricked twice in a row. As expected of any creature that could survive the apocalypse, Bai Kang remarked that they were lucky to still have electricity and informed them that the armory was just ahead. She explained that the survivors had evacuated in a hurry during the arrival of the Great Flood, and that the supplies had likely been taken long ago. After walking for a few more minutes, they finally arrived at their destination. The place was full of weapons, enough to equip 500 people, and if they found tanks, they could arm up to 1,000. The problem, according to Bai Kang, was how to transport everything, since going back for reinforcements wasn't an option at that moment. That's when Xiao Feng announced that he had found a tank, but right behind it, there was a strange creature that began firing at the vehicle. Quickly, Su Chen expanded his dimensional space and stored the entire contents of the warehouse. Xiao Feng asked if he could also absorb the monster, but Su Chen explained that he couldn't store living mutant creatures. At that moment, Bai Kang offered to lure the enemy away so the others could escape, but Su Chen grabbed her in his arms, which startled her. The creature advanced, and he skillfully dodged, telling Bai Kang to check if Xiao Feng was alright while he dealt with the mutant beast. She ran off, shouting for him not to dare die. Now face to face with the creature, Su Chen noted that he had never heard of a mutant like that in the region, but the most important thing was that its crystal core would be his no matter what. Meanwhile, the city lord's soldiers noticed someone had arrived before them. However, their attention was diverted when they saw a rabbit that, despite its harmless appearance, wore a disturbing smile. Before they realized the danger, the animal ferociously attacked them all. Back at Su Chen's fight, he realized that the level 2 creature's body was as tough as steel, similar to Lord Zhang, who had survived an explosion unharmed. He concluded that he needed to eliminate the parasitic vine lodged in the monster's brain, but ended up ensnared by its tendrils. Using his time leap ability, he teleported away and escaped the attack. Behind him, the mysterious kitten appeared again, and Su Chen remarked that the place was too dangerous for it, though he also remembered that the animal was a mutant creature as well. Meanwhile, Bai Kang was trying to help Xiao Feng, but ended up spotting the city lord's men and wondered what they were doing there. All those men bore the same sinister expression as the rabbit from before. Meanwhile, the cat with Su Chen suddenly grew, transforming into a giant creature. Su Chen realized that this cat and the other monster were mortal enemies, and that the crystal core had likely been used as bait to lure them there. Deciding to take advantage of the situation, he mounted the mutant cat, ready for battle, and proposed they fight together. The plan was simple. The cat would use its speed to draw the vine's attention, while he would handle the direct attack. The two charged at the enemy. The cat managed to destroy the vines, creating an opening for Su Chen to land a powerful blow to the creature's head. Taking advantage of the moment, the cat unleashed a flurry of rapid attacks, tearing the monster apart completely. When it went to claim the crystal core, the cat was stopped by Su Chen, who declared that this time the crystal was his. However, due to the damage to the base, water began to flood the area quickly. Su Chen warned that the place would soon be submerged and noticed that the cat was drowning. He rescued it and asked if it wanted to follow him from then on, but the animal didn't seem interested. Without insisting, Su Chen tossed it back into the water, only for the cat to change its mind and leap back into his arms. He told it that it had chosen of its own free will, since it hadn't been forced. Meanwhile, Bai Kang was facing another threat. She realized those men were clearly no longer alive, and Xiao Feng, buried under rubble, shouted for her to run. At that moment, the terrifying rabbit appeared, revealing itself as the one controlling the bodies and absorbing energy from the corpses. Distracted, Bai Kang was captured by the creature, but Xiao Feng, using the war tank, fired at the rabbit's head, blowing it apart. He then grabbed the crystal core and swallowed it. Moments later, Su Chen arrived, asking if he had really eaten the core. Xiao Feng admitted it, but wondered why he wasn't feeling any new ability. Su Chen explained that to quickly master an ability, one needed real battle experience. Bai Kang, curious, asked if he was really trying to raise a cat in the middle of the apocalypse, and he confirmed it, saying the animal would follow his orders from then on. The scene then shifted to the city center, where a woman was tied up, surrounded by Taioti tribe members. Nearby, another woman was threatened. If she didn't comply, she would share the same fate. With no other choice, she declared she would do whatever they wanted. At that moment, the Taioti tribe noticed someone approaching and was puzzled, wondering where that man had come from. Meanwhile, Bai Kang questioned whether Xiao Feng could really handle 3 Taoti clan members on his own. Su Chen assured her she didn't need to worry, as he wasn't just watching. He knew that, in his past life, Xiao Feng had been called the human nuclear bomb, and that if he wanted to fully master his abilities, nothing would be a better teacher than a real battle. The 3 monsters charged at Xiao Feng, while Bai Kang watched anxiously, fearing he would be killed at any moment. Su Chen, however, noticed that his ally had found a way to use his abilities effectively. The monsters, on the other hand, wondered how he was still unharmed, until Xiao Feng revealed that he had absorbed the energy from their blows, activating his plunderer ability. In no time, they felt their strength being drained away, as if swallowed by a black hole. Su Chen recognized it as an extremely powerful skill. Suddenly, Captain Sun appeared wielding his axe and, with a swift motion, decapitated decapitated the three monsters. He remarked that he was lucky to have arrived in time, otherwise everyone would have been devoured by the Taoti clan. As a reward, he ordered all the food to be handed over to them. Xiaofeng asked how the captain could do such a thing, but Su Chen simply told him to get in the car, promising he would personally deliver the food to the captain. With his usual sarcasm, Su Chen handed him a box of dog food before speeding away. Meanwhile, one of the captain's subordinates asked why he hadn't taken the opportunity to kill Xiaofeng. Sun replied that he had tried, but strangely, the axe had veered off course. The subordinate pointed out that now that Xiaofeng had new abilities, they would inevitably be pushed away from the core of the base's power. The captain then declared that it was time to choose a new leader for the place. Far away, Su Chen reflected that Xiaofeng had let his guard down too much, and that if he hadn't thrown a stone to deflect Sun's axe, his companion would certainly be dead. If Sun hadn't done it out of personal grudge, then there had to be another reason, meaning he likely had his own power within the new base. In that case, Su Chen needed to settle things once and for all. The scene shifted to the construction site at the perimeter wall, where everyone was commenting on how amazing Yun was for building the wall so easily, as if it were child's play. At that moment, she noticed Su Chen had returned. Upon arriving, he told the cat not to run around scaring people. Bai Kang observed that the animal looked very happy, probably because it hadn't been outside for a long time. Xiaofeng asked if Su Chen wasn't afraid the cat might run away, but he explained that he had already given it lots of delicious food, so it wouldn't abandon them. Meanwhile, General Gao reported that he had secured an empty warehouse as Su Chen had requested, but wasn't sure if it was big enough. In an instant, the place became a depot full of supplies. The general asked if he planned to hide his abilities, but Su Chen replied that they were all in the same boat and that he wouldn't trust anyone else besides them. Gao promised to keep the secret. Bai Kang pointed out that the base still didn't have a name and suggested that because of Su Chen's contributions, it should be called Chen Guang. The general agreed, saying the name symbolized hope and rebirth. Su Chen thought that in his previous life, this had been the last safe base in the apocalypse, and now naming it was a great honor. Meanwhile, Duanya demonstrated her medical skills by removing a mutant plant from someone's body. When the kitten saw her with a scalpel, it remembered traumatic memories of losing its precious jewels. When she tried to pet it, it looked frightened. Outside, Duanya mentioned that when Su Chen returned, she would ask if she could keep the cat, since surviving alone in that world was very difficult. She opened the door to show their temporary residence, but Su Chen was already there waiting, saying he needed a bit of fun. She asked when he had returned, and he asked how she knew it was him. She explained that he was the only one immune to her spiritual abilities. Later, Duanya was bathing with the new kitten, saying she hadn't yet given it a name. Noticing its fur with golden patterns, she decided to call it Gold. Su Chen approved of the name and said that now they would all bathe together. Duanya asked if he had gotten anything good from the armory, and Su Chen showed her a core, explaining that with it he could evolve into a level 2 human. Alarmed, she asked if he was going to eat it right there, remembering that last time it hadn't gone well. But it was too late. Su Chen had already swallowed the core, surprising her with the appearance of an evolved human. Outside, Yun, looking through the window, commented that Su Chen had just returned and hadn't even come to visit her, but ended up seeing more than she should and remarked that, like that, she would get mad at him. Looking at him directly, she asked what had happened, and Su Chen replied that she had arrived just in time. The scene shifted, and the two girls expressed concern, asking whether the side effects were too severe for Su Chen. He explained that he had absorbed many cores, apologizing, while they commented that they needed to become stronger so they would not die at his hands. Duanya wanted to confirm whether he had truly become a level 2 human. To test it, Su Chen activated his new ability called Iron Body, the result of merging his former Berserk and Singing Serpent abilities. His skin darkened, taking on a steel-like appearance, and a flow of energy surged across the surface of his body. When he projected that energy, he accidentally knocked everyone off the bed. He then demonstrated his spatial ability, which had previously been usable only with a single contact point, but now allowed him to open multiple smaller portals within a range of up to 20 meters. Furthermore, he was no longer limited to creating ice cubes. He could condense a layer of ice over his body and combine the cube with the portal to launch extremely powerful attacks, equivalent to rifle shots. He assessed that, after a few more evolutions, his power could reach the strength of a rocket. His last ability was mental perception. The range had not changed much, but now he could feel every cell in his own body. At that moment, he was suddenly surprised to find himself transported to another location. There, he encountered a mysterious woman who said she was in the consciousness space inside his brain. She appeared happy to see him again and revealed that she was the teacher Su Chen had seen dead in Chief Liu's office. She explained that she was there because he had swallowed her crystal core, which allowed her to parasitize hypnotize his body and merge with him. Shocked at having been deceived, Su Chen questioned her intentions. She said she had been alone for a long time and had been waiting for him. Realizing the danger, Su Chen decided to use an ability to imprison her, but she also possessed power within that consciousness space. Even though she acknowledged he was stronger in the real world, in that environment, she could match him and also imprisoned him, declaring that no one would leave. The woman proposed a conversation and explained that she needed to absorb part of his capacity, assuring him it would not harm him. He did not trust her and asked what it would take for her to leave his body. She replied that she needed to find a female body with strong abilities to survive and asked for his help in locating one. In exchange, she promised to offer benefits. Su Chen agreed on the condition that if she tried anything against him, she would be eliminated. She accepted and asked to be freed. Thus, both were released at the same time, and Su Chen returned to consciousness. Duanya, noticing he had remained still, asked what had happened. He replied that it would be better to take measures to minimize risks. Su Chen froze the entire space where the mysterious woman was, enraging her. He realized his ice ability seemed even stronger within the consciousness, but he knew he had to quickly find a suitable body for her. Therefore, he asked Duanya to introduce him to the women in the base. The request startled the girls, who questioned whether he was not already satisfied with the two of them, leaving Su Chen slightly embarrassed. The scene shifted to the base, where Duanya explained that around 1,300 people lived there. Among them, over 400 soldiers were responsible for security, while the rest of the men worked on constructing the temporary perimeter wall, which was almost complete with Yun Yun's help. Women, children, and the elderly were in charge of removing mutant plants that had sprouted inside the base and handling logistics. Yun Yun mentioned that many had been injured by mutant thorns, but Duanya had set up a surgery room to save these people. Despite these efforts, Su Chen noticed that no one there truly had peace, and that at least in the short term, construction and material supplies were secured. Elsewhere, General Gao assessed that, although the base's situation was stable for now, it was necessary to eliminate the Taodi clan tribe, which occupied a hospital full of medical resources. He asked if anyone had a good plan, and one of the men replied that there were at least 100 clan members at the site, with Captain Sun being the strongest combatant recommended for the mission. However, Captain Sun questioned Su Chen's presence at the meeting, accusing him of being irresponsible for not showing up often. General Gao scolded him, stating that without Su Chen, the base would not even exist. He believed Captain Sun could not see reality. At that moment, he recalled a conversation with Su Chen, where the latter had explained that he had no interest in leading and trusted only Gao to manage the base. Su Chen had also said that, in these times, if Gao was not vigilant, he would be swallowed by the apocalypse, and that the strong must never slow their pace. General Gao stated that if the base were ever in danger, Su Chen would act without hesitation. Even so, Captain Sun argued that there were dozens of Taoti clan members in the hospital, and that if the losses were too great, he could not take responsibility. General Gao assured him that Xiao Feng would assist, and that he would also ask Su Chen to take measures to ensure the mission's success. With that, Captain Sun agreed to lead the operation, and said that if there was nothing else, he would begin preparations. Outside, one of Captain Sun's henchmen asked why they were going to the hospital when the official mission was to take over the base. Captain Sun explained that he was concerned about Su Chen and Xiao Feng, as both were ability users and very difficult to deal with. He thought that if he could secretly eliminate the two of them during the operation, taking control of the base would be easy. Meanwhile, General Gao expressed concern that Captain Sun was heading down a dangerous path and commented that they might need to send people to investigate Heng. Another man noted that if things were as Su Chen had warned, something serious could happen. The scene shifted to the resettlement area, where Xiao Miao asked Tian Yue why Su Chen, being so strong, did not help them get some crystal cores. Tian Yue replied that becoming stronger was something each person had to do on their own, and reminded him that Su Chen had already saved their lives once. Xiao Miao agreed, but complained that they were always fighting against mutants and crazed zombies without receiving anything in return. At that moment, they noticed other people approaching. One of the newcomers announced that he was delivering a marked shipment and claimed that this time all the items were of high quality. A guard ordered him to follow, saying he would take everything to the city lord. In the city lord's hall, he declared himself very satisfied with the goods and said that any woman who bore him a child would have her life spared, calling it their only chance. At that moment, a man entered to report that Su Chen and his allies were about to attack the hospital. The lord ordered everyone to attack and demanded that Su Chen be killed. A mysterious man observed that all the soldiers were starving and that the only option would be to turn them into gluttons, though the the evolution process would take time. It was then that a scarred woman offered to help. When the Lord asked what she meant, the scene shifted to two men buried up to their necks. The Lord explained that she would help create an army of gluttons, but she needed the heads of those men as catalysts for a medicine. They claimed she was lying, but the Lord replied that the only way to know was to try. He then executed both men and collected their heads. Back with the scarred woman, she explained that, using the second-generation enhancement potion, she could speed up the glutton's evolution simply by pouring the substance into the blood. As she spoke, people were thrown into that blood, and she declared they should be grateful, as only the chosen were worthy of entering the blood pool and serving as warriors for the city lord. In her thoughts, she blamed Su Chen for having enslaved her and vowed that this time he would pay for it. Meanwhile, Chen Yue realized they were transforming the entire city's population into gluttons. Xiao Miao added that, at this rate, all 2,000 people would be turned into the city lord's minions. Chen Yue said no, because he himself needed to send that message, otherwise the base would face total destruction. At that moment, members of the Taoti clan appeared, declaring that no one would leave. Qian Rui then told his friend to run as he would stay behind to hold off the enemies. The scene shifted to Xiao Mei, who was playing with Su Chen. He asked if everything was fine with her and whether anyone had tried to intimidate her, but Xiao Mei replied that no one would dare, since she was his friend. Just then, General Gao approached to speak with Su Chen, explaining that squad leader Sun had gathered his men, but dealing with dozens of gluttons in the hospital would still be very difficult. He asked if Su Chen would be willing to help. Su Chen said it was no problem and that he would, but Gao added that he had another request. The general explained that the medicine stored in the strategic supply was extremely important for the future of the base and asked Su Chen to leave some medical supplies for them. Su Chen told him not to worry, as he would only take what was necessary. Gao added that, besides that, he had brought all the base members on this mission, and the team was informed that during this operation they would be under Su Chen's command. He ordered everyone to stay on guard at the base and keep watch for any movement from He Cheng, which left everyone there quite unsettled. Su Chen reflected that perhaps his new appearance might provoke uncontrollable changes in He Cheng. Meanwhile, Tian Hui and Xiao Miao were surrounded. Tian Hui told his friend to remember all the crises they had already faced, and then Xiao Miao charged at the monsters, striking them in the eyes with a piece of wood. However, before he could retreat, he was pierced by a spear. The one who had attacked him was the city lord himself, who mocked him, saying Xiao Miao was so skinny he wouldn't even make a good toothpick, and that he would give his body to feed his soldiers. He threw the young man's body toward the monsters, who attacked him. When Tian Hui tried to help, he was struck from behind. Lying on the ground, he watched helplessly as his friend was torn in half. With nothing else he could do, he threw himself into the river. Vowing revenge, the Lord of the Gluttons declared that they should destroy the enemy base and devour as many people as possible. Along with his men, he said Su Chen should wait, because they were on their way. At that moment, elsewhere, a woman gave birth to a mutant child, and a monster took the baby in his arms, saying it was his daughter. The monster's name was Feng Pangzi, leader of the Glutton Hospital, who, before the apocalypse, had been a mental patient there. When chaos began, he became the first glutton in the place. The woman, desperate, thought she could not remain in that hell and needed to escape. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Captain Sun's men fought against the gluttons. The captain remarked to Su Chen about the need to clear the way ahead, hinting that he should do it. Xiao Feng asked what he meant by that, and the captain replied that, although they were armed, everyone there was just an ordinary person. Su Chen asked if he was being threatened, and the captain retorted, questioning whether it wasn't natural for a whisper to take the front in battle. However, Su Chen warned that those who pointed weapons at him usually never met a good end. The three ability users advanced to the front, and Captain Sun decided to let them face the gluttons first, planning to eliminate them when they were exhausted. He even commented that it would be a shame to kill such a beautiful woman as Duan Ya. But at that moment, the three suddenly disappeared, leaving everyone confused as to where they had gone. Xiao Feng wondered how they couldn't see them, and Duan Ya explained that she was controlling their optic nerves. Still, since Captain Sun was a whisper, he could sense something was wrong. Su Chen, activating his ability, stated that Sun wouldn't notice and began firing ice projectiles at everyone around. At that moment, the wall beside Captain Sun was destroyed by the chief of the Glutton Hospital. Looking around and above, everyone realized they were completely surrounded. They quickly began shooting at the gluttons, but the weapons had no effect. Soon, the monsters charged at Sun's group, killing all the soldiers. Even so, Sun was able to fight the gluttons evenly with only a few fighters left by his side. He accused Su Chen of setting up an ambush. During the battle, one of the soldiers spotted a Taoti child, but it was so fast that it killed him in the blink of an eye. Meanwhile, other soldiers commented on how impressive Captain Sun was, having taken down several gluttons at once. However, when he charged at Feng Pangzi, he was easily overpowered. The Taoti child then tore off both of his arms, but he managed to kick it away. At that moment, Su Chen appeared and told him he could not kill that person. Feng Pangzi was captivated by Duan Duanya's beauty and proposed to Su Chen that if he handed her over, he could choose how he wanted to die. In response, Su Chen stepped forward and delivered a single punch, sending Pengzi flying. The glutton leader concluded that Su Chen was an ability user and that his flesh must be delicious. The child asked if his father liked that woman, saying she was weak, but since he did like her, she would be his mother. He assured Duanya that he would not devour her, but said he was hungry and needed milk. Without hesitation, Duanya delivered a strong kick to the creature's head, making it wonder if that was what having a mother felt like, and even think it might be enjoying it. She continued delivering multiple kicks, and the child declared that his mommy was amazing, but now it was his turn to attack. It was then that Duanya realized he also possessed a secret ability, the power to move through darkness and attack. When the monster tried to strike her, the cat appeared and protected her. She warned Gold that the place was very dangerous. The enemy tried to attack her again, but the cat intervened once more. When she aimed at him, Duanya saw he had vanished. Hidden, he murmured that he had almost died. Meanwhile, Xiaofeng said the situation was extremely dangerous and told everyone to stay behind him. Captain Sun replied that he would take advantage of this kindness to escape and ordered Xiaofeng to protect him, since he was the captain of the operation. Xiaofeng agreed, but said he needed a favor first. He grabbed the captain's neck and declared that, without arms, he was useless, so he would borrow his power for a while. He warned that when someone pointed weapons at him, they became his enemy, and since everyone there was an enemy, he drained everyone's strength. Thanks to Su Chen's warnings, the Dawn base discovered that a large cannibal force was heading toward them. Bai Kang asked why Yun Yun was there, and she replied that Su Chen had told her to finish the barrier before leaving, as he didn't want the cannibals to destroy the place. Bai Kang then commented that she had always had a question and wanted to know if it wasn't strange that only she and Duanya stayed with Su Chen. Yun Yun replied that at first it did seem strange, but now, in the apocalypse, nobody cared about such things. She also thought she could never handle that beast Su Chen alone. Soon after, Yun Yun asked if Bai Tang also liked him, but the other, embarrassed, told her not to say nonsense. Yum remarked that it was normal to feel attracted to a strong and charismatic man. At that moment, a man reported that the cannibal tribe was approaching. Bai Kang told him to inform the general and start the evacuation. Meanwhile, Yun Yun prepared herself, eating chocolate, and asked if Bai Kang intended to abandon the base. Bai Kang replied that of course not, but they needed to ensure everyone's safety. Yun Yun declared that she would not let the cannibals destroy the barrier they had built, because Su Chen would be very disappointed and she herself could not handle his anger. Determined, she took an enhancement injection, applied it to herself, and asked Bai Kang to organize the people to fight, as they could not abandon the base. Yun Yun then charged at the enemies, uprooting a tree and declaring that no one would pass that point. She realized that the potion's potency was extremely high as her body continued to grow slowly. One of the cannibal gluttons claimed she could not defeat his army, and they all advanced. However, she dealt with them easily, crushing them like mosquitoes. Bai Kang thought that all of Su Chen's women seemed incredibly strong, but feared that, due to the number of enemies, Yun Yun might not be able to hold out for long. Noticing that the original deployment of the base had been completely interrupted, she ran off, determined to act. Meanwhile, Yun Yun continued devastating the cannibal army. At that moment, a woman appeared and asked if they didn't want to kill Yun Yun. Since the cannibals knew they could not defeat her, they charged at the newcomer, who implanted a flower on each of their heads. She remembered that, before being sent to Hecheng, she had accidentally discovered that mutant plants tainted with her blood could temporarily make people stronger, but the price for that was their lives. Thus, those cannibals transformed into giant monsters, frightening Yun Yun. The cannibal chief ordered them to attack and kill everyone. Just as they were preparing to strike Yun Yun, they were met with gunfire and war tanks that appeared to aid her. Still, two enhanced cannibals attacked her, and when one was about to bite her from behind, a drone intervened, saving her. Controlling the drone was Bai Kang, positioned atop a building. Meanwhile, Su Chen was still fighting the chief medic Feng Pongzi. He acknowledged that the monster's power was not bad, but Pongzi said it was a pity he was so weak. At the same time, the teacher inside Su Chen's mind wondered what was happening outside, but since he had sealed her there, she could not see anything. Determined, she decided to break that ice. Su Chen realized that his opponent was difficult to face, and that he needed to end the fight quickly. However, he was suddenly pulled into his own consciousness, where the woman said she had been waiting for him for a long time. She grabbed him and wrapped him inside a cocoon, claiming that this way he would would not be able to use his ice ability. As she embraced him, the woman inside Su Chen's consciousness realized he was unclothed. This embarrassed her so much that she momentarily forgot what she was doing. Outside, Su Chen's body was being crushed by Feng Pengzi, causing the cocoon within his mind to shake violently. Pengzi declared that, in the end, Su Chen was nothing more than a meal for him. Just as he prepared to devour him, Duanya appeared and shot at the monster, demanding that he take his filthy hands off her man. Upon seeing her, Pengzi remarked that this woman was also contaminated and recalled his past. When he was human, he had waited to marry a woman, giving her 100 gifts. On the last gift, she told him they would never see each other again. She asked if a bullfrog could eat swan meat and admitted she had only accepted the gifts out of pity. She said she didn't care about his appearance and that he shouldn't worry about the relationship she had with another man. He should marry someone who truly loved him, which, according to her, would be him. However, she revealed she had become pregnant by a rich man and would never be with him. These words filled Pengzi with rage and grief, making him cry. Later, he claimed she had been possessed and, holding her dead body in his hands, said that nothing else mattered anymore. Returning to the present, Pengzi transformed once more. Meanwhile, Xiaofeng had killed all the traitors, absorbing their power, and declared that now it was the Taoti clan's turn. Elsewhere, Duanya and Gold were fighting a monster, and she was surprised to see Gold transform. Inside Su Chen's consciousness, he said he would take care of things in the real world and told her to behave until his return. As for what was between them, he said they would talk later, but she insisted he forget about that and claimed she would help him, offering him her hand. She declared that he was a very bad man and needed to take responsibility for her. At Su Chen's base, an intense battle was underway, but Yun and the others were still managing the situation well. Suddenly, a war tank was hurled with great force at Bai Kang, crushing her completely. Witnessing this, Yun awakened a deep hatred, deciding that no one would leave alive. She charged forward, trampling the gluttons, while their chief fled, complaining that she had ruined all his plans. When she tried to catch him, he climbed up her arm and delivered such a powerful punch to her face that it knocked her down, claiming that now no one had the power to stop him. With a psychotic look, Yun declared that the base belonged to Su Chen and that she would protect it until his return, saying that all fleas like him should be exterminated. She then unleashed a barrage of punches on the glutton chief, while everyone around commented that she was far stronger than they had imagined. General Gao noted that the situation did not seem so simple. Soon after, Yun let out a deafening roar, leaving everyone puzzled about what had happened to her. Gao ordered that Su Chen be found immediately, as he was the only one who could save her. A woman, the only whisper of the speed type, said to leave it to her, assuring that she would find Su Chen as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Su Chen assessed that most of the Taoti clan was injured or dead. The woman who lived inside Su Chen's consciousness then emerged into the outside world, and he asked why she had done so. She explained that she had discovered she could freely enter and leave his body, and that if they followed Feng Pengzi's trail, they could catch up to him. Su Chen, however, said he knew exactly what he was doing and told her not to interfere. Irritated, the girl called him ungrateful and decided to prove she was capable, using her hair to swing between buildings like Spider-Man. At that moment, Su Chen spotted Yun and realized something had happened to her. He concluded that only a serious event could make her lose control like that, and that if she continued, she would eventually self-destruct. He judged that the situation was far from optimistic. Meanwhile, Xiaofeng decided to use all the power he had absorbed against the enemy. The level 1 mutant cat was at his side, helping in the fight, but Pengzi defeated them both with a single tongue strike, declaring they were no match for a level 2 Taoti glutton. The monster then attacked Duanya. The woman in Su Chen's mind asked what he would do at that moment, as he would have to choose between saving Duanya or Yun. Su Chen then used her own ability to help Duanya, which surprised her, as she didn't know he was capable of that. He replied that only children chose, and that he wanted everything. She observed that, in that sense, he was even greedier than the gluttons themselves, and told him to do as he pleased, since only he could see her. Duanya said she knew he would be fine, while Pengzi grew furious, demanding to know how he dared interfere with his business again. Su Chen remarked that it seemed he really could use that ability, and decided to test it against the monster. With black threads, he completely restrained Pengzi's body and declared that he was thinking of cutting him into tiny pieces, asking if he could still regenerate afterward. Using his new technique, he made the enemy's body explode into multiple fragments. Duanya realized that, without him even noticing, Su Chen had become much stronger, and she concluded she would need to train hard to keep up with him. Su Chen said he needed decided to return to the base quickly, leaving Gold and Xiaofeng with her. Meanwhile, the woman sent to search for Su Chen was exhausted. Suddenly, he sped past her, impressing her with a speed equal to her own. The woman inside his consciousness asked if he truly intended to go back, since everyone at the base could already be dead by now. Su Chen replied that because they were his people, he could not abandon them, and that he had worked hard to build that base. His only concern was that Yun might not be able to hold on in time. Determined, he said it was time to test a new move. He then activated his spatial leap. The woman watching from the ground concluded that he had teleported. Internally, Su Chen knew his spatial leap could cover at least 3 meters, but if used 3 times in a row, it would leave his body nearly torn apart. Now that he was at level 2, he could leap about 8 meters. Taking advantage of this ability, he activated his iron body skill and used continuous spatial leaps. Meanwhile, Yun advanced, destroying everything in her path, even frightening the gluttons, though at the same time they were attracted to her, as they had never seen a woman of such imposing size. Excited, they began climbing her body to enjoy the view, remarking that it would be much easier to attack a giant woman from the inside. The soldiers, realizing the danger, shouted to take down the intruder clinging to Yun's body. However, she had already lost control and was attacking everything around her, unable to distinguish friend from foe. Bai Kang noticed someone approaching and, upon looking, recognized Su Chen. He assessed the situation and concluded that Yun's uncontrolled growth could lead her to self-destruction. Determined to stop it, he moved in, knowing he first needed to deal with the gluttons bothering her. Meanwhile, a girl looked on, intrigued by the resilient stockings Yun wore, surprised they could stretch so much. With his threads, Su Chen took down all the gluttons clinging to Yun's body. The gluttons near the witch blamed her for all the chaos and promised to make her pay for what she had done. The witch, however, struck one of them on the head with her staff, calling it a gift, and then fled. The staff rooted itself in the gluttons' bodies, absorbing everyone around. While a hideous creature emerged on one side, Yun continued to eliminate anything in sight on the other. She kicked the monster's head, sending several gluttons flying, but one managed to latch onto her leg. At that moment, Su Chen appeared and cut off the creature's arms. General Gao commented that, at least, the gluttons had been eliminated. But Bai Kang wondered how Su Chen would be able to wake Yun up. Soon, Yun herself began attacking him, not recognizing who he was. Using his teleportation technique, he realized he could not confront her head-on and decided to hide in a strategic position. At that moment, her body began to shine intensely, and Su Chen, noticing she wouldn't last much longer, used his spatial leap to get closer. The scene then shifted to a memory of Yun, showing when she was only an experiment. Every time she opened her eyes, she saw nothing but darkness, and she couldn't count how many times she had awakened in despair, or how many times she had lain on a cold operating table, being pierced by countless needles. In that apocalyptic world, she was nothing more than a lab rat, and if there was any god, she begged for help, willing to give up everything for a chance at freedom. It was at that moment that a deity appeared before her. Su Chen climbed onto her body and told her not to forget that he didn't need useless people by his side. Then, he slapped her hard across the face. This made Yun remember all the times he had saved her life. Realizing that it was thanks to him that they could still live as humans in that apocalypse, she promised to give him everything she could. Her body began to shine even brighter, and everyone began saying she was about to self-destruct. When General Gao opened his eyes, he realized that Su Chen and Yun had disappeared. Upon seeing this, Bai Kang fell to her knees, regretting that she still had so much to say to Su Chen, while also acknowledging that Yun had just saved her life. General Gao, however, told her to look ahead. At that moment, Su Chen appeared carrying Yun's body. He noticed that she was gravely injured and ordered someone to call a doctor immediately. Just then, Duanya appeared with gold, saying she would help. Upon examining Yun, she determined that her condition was critical and that her life was in great danger. She ordered them to place Yun in a bathtub, explaining that ordinary surgery would not work on such a wound. She then prepared a recovery potion based on water evolution and asked Su Chen to check if there was any sign of healing. He replied that he felt absolutely nothing. Duanya insisted that it was impossible for there to be no improvement, as she had perfected the recovery potion. Su Chen then asked if such wounds could be healed through ability. She admitted that it made sense, but asked how he intended to do it. Without hesitation, Su Chen approached and kissed the wound, making it disappear completely. Surprised and flustered, Duanya said she would leave the rest of Yun's wounds for him to handle alone, as they were spread all over her body. Outside, Bai Kang remarked that she had brought good things back for Duanya. but Duanya explained that Su Chen was currently healing Yun Yun. Bai Qiang asked if he could heal other people, and Xiaofeng quickly said he wanted to be healed as well. However, Duanya replied that he was not a suitable candidate for Su Chen's healing, shifting the topic to a mysterious stone. Xiaofeng explained that he had found the stone inside the body of the gluttonous leader and that it emitted a strange light. Hearing this, Duanya was startled, concluding that it was likely a gigantic core. Xiaofeng stated that, aside from Su Chen, no one could contain that power. However, she realized that if he absorbed such a massive stone, the side effects would be extreme. She herself was already struggling to handle Yun Yun and Yu at the same time, and now, without additional help, she did not know how she would manage. At that moment, Bai Qiang offered her assistance, but Duanya's intuition warned her that something was off. Determined, Duanya asked to speak with Bai Qiang in private and shut the door in Xiaofeng's face. She reflected that since Su Chen would not stop growing stronger, she needed to act in some way. Confused, Bai Qiang asked why she was acting like that, and Duanya replied that she needed to confirm something. When she revealed what it was, Bai Qiang was shocked. Duanya then informed her that, thanks to Su Chen, Yun Yun's wounds were almost healed and that she would take care of her from then on. She also mentioned that Xiao Feng had brought a crystal core and that it was in the reception room, asking Su Chen to take a look. Upon examining the object, he realized it was not a core, but a black stone. He found the confusion understandable, as he had only heard of it in his previous life, and now strange things were appearing more frequently. The black stone was extremely hard and was likely a rare material that had emerged during the apocalypse. It was tied to the legend of the Black Blade King, a figure who had survived the apocalypse wielding a sword forged from that material. Rumor had it that the Black Blade itself was made from that very stone. Su Chen concluded that he was lucky, as he would have the chance to forge his own black sword when he found a skilled craftsman. He stored the stone in his inventory, determined to seize the opportunity. Meanwhile, Bai Qiang questioned Duanya about why she had brought up the subject of the curse. Duanya explained that if Su Chen absorbed the core, he would suffer a powerful curse. When Bai Qiang asked what would happen if it wasn't resolved, Duanya admitted she didn't know, as it had never happened before. Since Yun Yun still needed care, Bai Qiang offered to handle Su Chen's curse herself. When Duanya tried to explain what that entailed, Bai Qiang interrupted, saying she could handle it alone. Later, Bai Qiang began to regret her words, realizing she had spoken hastily without thinking. She questioned why she was wearing strange clothes, but reminded herself that Su Chen's situation was tied to the safety of the entire base. Convinced that he had already consumed the crystal as it had vanished, she decided to confirm the curse. She dressed as a maid and brought him wine, leaving him surprised by her unusual behavior. While Duanya attended to Yun Yun, she wondered what Bai Qiang might be going through at that moment. Outside the base, people were clearing away the corpses of the gluttons, but when they looked ahead, they realized there were no bodies on the ground. Inside Su Chen's consciousness, the girl remarked that the person she had been searching for had finally appeared, but was so far away that she could not pinpoint their exact location and would need his help. Su Chen had no idea what was going on. While in the real world, Bai Qiang told him that whatever he wanted to do with her at that moment was fine, causing him to spit out his wine in surprise. She asked if he was all right and whether there was something wrong with the drink. Upon tasting it, she discovered that the wine was extremely strong, with an alcohol content of 64%. Despite that, she realized it was the first time she had ever drunk in her life, and right after swallowing it, she felt a surge of energy strong enough to lift and throw a table. Su Chen commented that she had gotten drunk very quickly, but Bai Qiang insisted she wasn't drunk. She simply needed to help him with the curse. He replied that, although he had no reason to refuse what was being offered, he didn't like this reversal of roles and, exuding a powerful aura, told her to call him Master. Bai Qiang quickly yielded, admitting she was wrong. However, in the middle of this moment, Su Chen was suddenly pulled back into his consciousness. The girl explained that the person had appeared and possessed a body that matched hers exactly. He asked why she had brought him there if the person had already shown up, and she replied that she still couldn't determine the exact location and needed to borrow his power. She then trapped him once again inside the cocoon, saying he functioned as a signal amplifier. Once they connected, she asked him to project the spirits. Together, they visualized a horde of corpses and, at the front, a woman. The girl stated that this was the one summoning the dead, the person she wanted. Su Chen asked if she was interested in the corpse queen's body and whether it was safe to be so close. The girl said there was no problem as long as they remained in spiritual form and avoided major fluctuations of energy. But something unexpected happened, and she asked what it was. In the physical world, Bai Qiang remarked that his curse had already taken effect and began trying to remove it. At that moment, the corpse queen sensed their presence presence and asked who was watching her. The girl warned that they had been discovered, and the enemy lunged at them, prompting Su Chen to wake abruptly in his bed with a splitting headache. The girl in his consciousness told him that he had lost a lot of vital energy and that the corpse queen had almost bitten his leg. Su Chen pointed out that she had seen for herself how dangerous the enemy was, and that the horde of dead under her control would be a major problem. With the group growing larger each time she gathered more corpses, her strength increased, and he could not risk provoking her without getting something worthwhile in return. The girl then knelt down and promised that if he helped her, she would become his servant for the rest of her life. He didn't believe her easily and asked what she could do to convince him. Su Chen demanded that she give him her core. With no other choice, she complied. Upon receiving the core, he said that from that moment on, he would try to help her, and she told him she hoped he would keep his word before disappearing. Su Chen decided he would not use that core against its original owner, and recalled that, in his previous life, the Corpse Queen had led a horde capable of wiping out entire cities, leaving behind nothing but her shadow. Even so, he concluded he could not dwell on those memories. It was time to move on. Meanwhile, Xiaofeng asked Bai Qiang if she was going to accompany Su Chen, but she replied that she had many things to handle at the base. Though she didn't say it aloud, she thought that for now she was too weak to help him. But one day, she would surely catch up to him. The scene shifted to Duanya talking with Yunyun. The young woman remarked that flames were strictly forbidden at gas stations, and Duanya responded that if she was uncomfortable, she could go stand in the rain. Alarmed by the weather, Yunyun wanted to know where Su Chen had gone. Duanya explained that before the apocalypse, it had been impossible to buy large quantities of fuel, and since he didn't have much stored, he had gone out to get more. At that moment, a man appeared saying he was hungry and cold. Spotting the campfire, he threw himself into the flames. The smoke rising from his body caught Duanya's attention, and she found it strange, telling Yunyun to cover her nose. Moments later, several men emerged, revealing that this trick always worked. In reality, the man had been used to release poison, and they were pleased to see that their targets were two young women. They remarked that once they got tired of playing with them, they would sell them to the New World base. Duanya aimed her gun and warned them not to come any closer, but one of the men scoffed, saying that against special abilities, her weapon was nothing but a toy. Another man, however, warned his companion to leave immediately, because when Su Chen returned, they would regret it. The first man laughed and asked if Su Chen was the same young man who had gone out earlier. Upon confirmation, he claimed Su Chen must already be dead, as he had been targeted by a crazy woman, and no one survived a night after facing her. Meanwhile, that very woman walked through an enclosed, isolated area. She knew it was dangerous, but the place felt perfect to her. Looking for the handsome guy, she commented that the whole area was filled with poisonous gas. Suddenly, she saw a shadow and believed she had found him, asking him to come to her so she could help. But when the smoke cleared, she realized it was only a dummy. Su Chen, who was standing behind her, asked who she was. When she tried to attack him with her weapon, he easily restrained her. He noticed the weapon had been crafted by an artisan and grabbed her face, demanding to know where this artisan was. The woman claimed she didn't understand what he was talking about. At that moment, the pink-haired girl appeared and asked if the artisan was important. Su Chen explained that in the Corpse Queen's horde, that artisan was a powerful figure. The pink-haired girl then decided to enter the woman's consciousness to search for answers. After the investigation, she revealed that the artisan was in a base called New World, though she didn't know his exact situation. Frightened, the woman knelt down and begged not to be killed, explaining that someone had tampered with her brain and that, in the future, if she had certain thoughts, her mind would be crushed. The pink-haired girl said she hadn't done anything, but the woman insisted she felt something linked to her mind, and in order to save her own life, promised to be Su Chen's loyal dog. He found the offer interesting and said he wanted to see how a dog would behave for him. The scene shifted to Yunyun, saying her body felt very hot, and Duanya suspected there was something in the smoke they had inhaled. The man claimed that was normal, as there were certain things capable of making people feel happy. However, Duanya and Yunyun stood up, making it clear they already understood the situation. Surprised, the man asked if they weren't poisoned. One of his companions remarked that the poison didn't seem to affect people with abilities. The aggressors, now alarmed, drew their weapons. Yunyun noticed that the pistols were water guns, but one of the men explained they were high-pressure water guns, and another added that, combined with his ability, he could attack them from 3 different directions. The leader quickly ordered them to fire. However, the men ended up shooting him instead, as Duanya was controlling all of their minds. At that moment, the mysterious woman who accompanied Su Chen appeared, and the man called her Lord Poison Mistress. Irritated, she slapped him across the face and told him to shut his filthy mouth. She then bowed before Su Chen, who remarked remarked that she was quite a good pet. The scene shifted again as the poison mistress ordered everyone to bring the barrels of gasoline. One of the men mocked her, saying she had become someone's dog, and suggested that they could become dogs too. Another reminded her that the gasoline had been obtained with great difficulty. Angered, she asked if they were courting death and attacked all three without hesitation. Realizing the situation, the men said they didn't know what Su Chen had done to her, but assured him that since they were from New World, if he let them go, they would pretend nothing had happened. Su Chen replied that he wasn't in the habit of leaving loose ends, then invaded their minds and made their skulls explode. The scene was enough to shock even the poison mistress. He remembered that, some time ago, Professor Shaw had found a strange worm that connected to the brain, and that the poison master also possessed one of these, already dead. The pink-haired girl suggested that perhaps her own toxins had made her immune to brainworms. Su Chen reflected that he had just destroyed 3 of these parasites, but as a consequence, their hosts had died. This indicated that someone was using the worms to control people. He concluded that he needed to find a way to make Duanya and Yunyun immune to them. Su Chen summoned the car and asked if the poison master could drive. She was startled as the vehicle had appeared out of nowhere. During the trip, she revealed that her name was Lady Poison and said that, not long ago, she had only been a minor leader in the New World. Now, she considered herself a slave to someone else, but as long as she had access to crumbs, she didn't care about the rest. Although she resented seeing others enjoying a true feast behind her, she wondered how, in the middle of the apocalypse, there could be so much food available. She felt the urge to eat, but decided she wouldn't risk her life for it. At that moment, she heard Su Chen open a Coca-Cola, which only increased her frustration. To make matters worse, Yunyun offered her some of the drink, leaving her intrigued by such kindness. Yunyun explained that Su Chen really liked it when people called him Master, especially if they were girls, and introduced herself to Lady Poison, saying that, for now, they could be considered partners. In the end, she handed her a can of Coca-Cola. Lady Poison explained that, in the apocalypse, many people ended up trusting men, but such a trap wouldn't work on her. However, she wasn't sure if she could resist forever. Meanwhile, Union teased her with slices of lamb. When Lady Poison opened her mouth, a poisonous gas escaped, and she explained that this venom could cause men to die of exhaustion and women to burn with desire, though its effect was reduced on ability users. Su Chen thought he could use her ability to make Duanya and Yunyun immune to brainworms. The gas seemed to affect Yunyun as she suddenly began approaching Su Chen quite intensely. Lady Poison said she hadn't intended for that to happen, and Duanya commented that apparently she would have to give up the back seat for the two of them. Moving to the front seat, Duanya took the opportunity to ask Lady Poison about the New World. Lady Poison wanted to know if there would be food after the conversation, as she was starving, and then Duanya asked how she had joined the New World. When they arrived at the place, Lady Poison explained that, although not very large, it was like an apocalyptic paradise of indulgence, filled with auctions, slaves, a black market, beauty contests, and even gladiator arenas. Yunyun noticed that there were many people at the entrance and asked why. Lady Poison said that they were all ghouls trying to enter the New World, but the entry requirements were extremely strict, and many failed to achieve that goal. Su Chen expressed interest in seeing what was happening there. Meanwhile, a man explained that the identity ticket was the only proof needed to join the New World, and obtaining it meant escaping danger and hunger. However, to get one, a person had to participate in a test, proving their worth. Lady Poison commented that the identity cards were controlled by the city lord's personal guard, and that getting one was beyond her abilities. Therefore, she suggested that Su Chen bother them to take the first test. Union thought that would be too much trouble, and preferred to look for the craftsman first, but Lady Poison warned it would be dangerous, as all the guards were ability users. Duanya noted that the craftsman was probably someone very discreet and cautious, and that if he found out they were after him, he might get scared. Su Chen decided they would keep a low profile for now and check for information about the first trial test. Zumito mentioned that, with Su Chen's group, they could form the last participating team, since the trial was about to begin. It was explained that, recently, many mutant spiders had been gathering in that region, and that the goal of the test would be to hunt them. A man suggested that participants should only lure and capture the spiders in the surrounding area, avoiding going deep into the forest. The rule was simple. Whoever returned with 5 mutant spider corpses, or with 1 queen spider corpse before nightfall, would pass the test. However, the man made it clear that this mission was almost impossible. The gatekeeper also stated that anyone who didn't want to take the test could simply leave. However, those who were alone would also become easy targets for the mutant spiders, and everyone received wishes of good luck before starting the test. One of the men warned Su Chen that all the other teams had already left and suggested suggested he follow behind them, but Su Chen considered it much safer to act alone. He thought there might be a spider nest in the mountain forest, and that it would be worth investigating. The men debated among themselves whether they should follow him to kill him, but the leader decided to ignore it, believing that those people would die sooner or later. Their plan was to wait for the others to return, and then steal their prey. Meanwhile, Su Chen advanced through the forest when several spiders appeared in his path. He wondered if there could be mutant spider spirits, but concluded there were none, and grew curious about how many crystal cores they might drop. Without hesitation, Su Chen exterminated each of the spiders, but suddenly, a massive spider appeared behind him, catching his attention. The scene shifted to a group of men announcing the Doomsday Roses beauty contest. The top 3 winners would receive permanent identity cards for free. The host pointed to a woman who had placed 7th the previous week and stated that, for only 3 packs of instant noodles, she could belong to whoever paid that night. Lady Poison explained that if a woman did not make it into the top 3 and still wanted to remain in the new world, she could end up becoming nothing more than a tool to empty men's pockets. However, with Duanya and Yunyun's beauty, she was certain the two would do well. She added that women who didn't choose this path could try their luck in the gladiator arena, but for most, securing food and safety without taking risks was 100 times better than living outside. Therefore, she told the two to change quickly, as she was waiting outside. Meanwhile, a man approached Lady Poison and remarked that she had brought extremely high-quality goods this time. He asked to take the girls to his room immediately, promising that if they served him well, they would receive 2 identity cards. He added that, for him, this way of negotiating was much more entertaining. Lady Poison thought that if she offended him, she would completely lose the chance of obtaining an identity card. At that moment, she saw no other choice. She entered the room where Duanya and Yunyun were, and using her power ended up poisoning the two of them. Duanya said that the Lady of Poison had deceived them, but the lady herself replied that, for now, this was the only way, and asked them to be patient. Meanwhile, a man remarked to the one with the eye patch that he always acted so fast and that, whenever a beautiful woman appeared, he would share her with his younger brother. The eye patch man replied that it was because they were real brothers, and in the apocalypse, beauties like that were extremely rare. At that moment, the 2 girls appeared before them, and the eye patch man started laughing, saying that they were definitely under the Lady of Poison's control. He chose Duanya, leaving Yunyun to his friend. However, what they didn't know was that they weren't actually with those women, but rather with each other. Duanya had activated her mind control over them and remarked that it had been much easier than she expected. The Lady of Poison observed that such an ability was extremely ruthless. Yunyun then asked if the Lady of Poison had poisoned them to hand them over to the 2 punks, but the lady said no. She explained that her master had told her the poison could resist brainworms, and she was afraid the 2 of them might be infested by them. Duanya agreed, saying she had done the right thing, but that they would now have to maintain that state while in the new world. She added that they needed to hurry and get the identity cards. The Lady of Poison asked about the 2 men there, and Duanya replied that she would just keep doing what she was doing, but if the lady wanted, she could simply watch. Meanwhile, those men were still going through the trial test. The subordinates of the group's leader asked if he was lost, but the leader was only trying to understand why there were so many spider corpses there, all with severed heads. His subordinates commented that it looked like someone had won that battle. At that moment, Su Chen was facing a giant spider, which managed to shoot its web onto his arm. He said he didn't expect to find such a big spider, but he felt he was close to reaching level 2. Some men watched from hiding, wondering who that guy was, fighting the spider alone, and concluded he was no weakling. Even so, the leader claimed that guy was overestimated, and that he couldn't wait to see his corpse hanging from the web. But reality was very different. Su Chen charged at the spider and with a single punch killed the Spider King. This terrified the men so much that one of the leader's subordinates turned against him. However, this was all part of the plan. The real intention was to steal Su Chen's crystal core. When the leader shouted, "Switch places," he ended up swapping positions with Su Chen, who was now completely tied up and surrounded. The leader held the crystal core in his hands, while Su Chen looked on and commented that position swapping was a very rare ability, probably used to harm others. The leader told him to shut up, saying that prey shouldn't talk too much. Su Chen asked if he considered himself a hunter, reminding him that even hunters could be killed by their prey. The leader ordered his men to kill Su Chen, but when they struck him, their weapons broke. Shocked, they realized his skin was extremely tough and concluded that he might already be at level 2 as a human. Upon realizing this, they all fled. Easily, Su Chen broke the chains holding him, saying they could run, but it wouldn't be so easy to escape him. He charged at the leader, demanding the return of his crystal core. However, just as he delivered the punch, the leader used his ability again, putting one of his underlings in place to take the blow. Meanwhile, the leader commented that he had almost died from that punch, but was sure he would take revenge on Su Chen sooner or later. Su Chen then activated his spiritual sense ability, detecting the heat signature of everyone in the forest, and went after his next target. Yet again, the leader switched places with one of his subordinates. This time, however, he no longer knew which way to run to get away from Su Chen. Su Chen said he had taken down the second scapegoat but needed to move faster. Otherwise, the leader would get away. As the man ran, he suddenly came face to face with Su Chen. Surprised, the leader asked how the hell he had found him. Su Chen replied that he wouldn't believe it even if he told him, because in truth, it had been the leader himself who found him. Before the man could say anything, Su Chen disintegrated half of his body. At that moment, the scene shifted to the Lady of Poison, who was hosting a beauty contest. When Duanya and Yunyun went to see who the contestants were, they were shocked, as it looked more like a horror show. The Lady of Poison remarked that, with such abominations, the two of them would surely win. Duanya, however, said that it was better to stay very cautious either way. Suddenly, a woman approached, asking what was going on and who dared cause trouble in that place. Yunyun quickly recognized her, saying she was the famous star Lin Meyer. Lin Meyer stated that in that competition, no one was qualified to be her opponent. Duanya mocked her, asking if she wasn't the great star who had slept with the director. Offended, Lin Meyer charged at Duanya, and it became clear the two knew each other. They started a battle of kicks, and the fight seemed evenly matched. Lin Meyer said she didn't expect Duanya to still be alive, and Duanya apologized for disappointing her. Union and the Lady of Poison asked if they knew each other and weren't best friends, but Duanya shot back, asking if they had ever seen a best friend put hair removal cream in your shampoo, laxatives in your water, or shove dead rats in your locker. Lin Meyer replied that Duanya had always wanted to steal her spotlight, knowing her dream was to be an actress, and that she had even tried to take the lead role from her. Duanya explained that she had only accompanied her to the audition, never wanted to be an actress, and wasn't the one who convinced the director in bed later on. Thus, the two began an even fiercer fight. Union commented that it was the first time she had seen Duanya like that. Lin Meyer declared that now they would compete to see who was the most beautiful woman in the apocalypse, and Duanya said she was looking forward to it. And honestly, it wouldn't be surprising if she ended up as the protagonist's next wife. The scene shifted again, as it was announced that the beauty contest was about to begin. Many frail men celebrated, excited by the sight of beautiful women. Duanya realized that this was the way to meet the lord of the city and understood why the other woman was so determined to win. A man commented that if they won, the city lord might help them find the craftsman, which would make things much easier. Duanya said that, for that reason, they couldn't let that woman win the championship. Union said she needed Su Chen's help to detoxify herself because the feeling was horrible. Meanwhile, Lin Meyer was plotting with other women to make sure Duanya and Yunyun wouldn't get out of there, promising rewards to anyone who helped. Then the contest judges were introduced. Among them was one of the men who had been under Duanya's spell, who remarked that he didn't understand why his backside hurt so much. Well, we know exactly what happened, and he wasn't the only one. The eye patch man was in the same situation. He said that if it weren't for Yin Xiao waking them up, they would have missed the competition. Yin Xiao replied that when he woke the two up, they were in a deplorable state. He seemed to have discovered an incredible secret, and said those two wouldn't kill him just to keep the secret hidden. Meanwhile, the host announced that whoever won the championship would have the chance to enter the upper ranks of the new world. As soon as Duanya and Yunyun tried to present themselves in the competition, other armed women tried to attack them. However, the two were ready for it. Yunyun grew in size and crushed them like ants. At the same time, Lin Meyer gave her presentation and received a score of 9 from all the judges. She wondered if Duanya really thought she would let her go up there so easily. But the host announced that the next contestant was coming. When Lin Meyer looked back, she was shocked. Duanya was dressed as an angel, more beautiful than ever, to the point that she couldn't believe her eyes. Suddenly, blood and bodies began to rain down beside Lin Meyer. She realized they were her own henchwomen and wondered what the hell had happened. The judges, unfazed, simply remarked that some girls had died and began wondering who might be the champion. Yunyun, meanwhile, wondered if that entrance would be enough. The Lady of Poison commented that Duanya had been a little too ruthless, and the judges ended up giving her the same score as Lin Meyer, 9. Upon seeing this, Lin Meyer stripped in front of everyone, driving the men completely wild. With that, all the judges gave her a score of 10. Laughing like a psychopath, Lin Meyer declared that she had won that battle. Duanya simply said that woman was truly insane. The city lord then asked for the identity cards to be brought. Yin Xiao noticed that he had taken them out very quickly. The woman in charge handed over 3 cards, 1 for each contestant. At that moment, the city lord pointed at Lin Meyer, and the host announced that she was the champion. Lin Meyer would not only be able to enter the new world, but had also been chosen by the city lord, now able to live a superior life by his side. The woman then led Lin Meyer to her new fate. Duanya remarked that, either way, they had gotten the identity cards and would just need to find another way to proceed. The scene shifted to the Lord of the New World. The woman informed him that Miss Lin was ready. The Lord, Kong Ming, said that youth truly was a wonder, and that it was a shame that, being old, he had long since lost such desires. He added that the apocalypse was far too boring for someone like him, and that when he felt that way, he enjoyed cultivating flowers, and also raising a few fish. It was then revealed that Lin Meyer had been stitched up as if she were a mermaid. Kong Ming observed that, as expected from a great star, she was indeed very beautiful, and told her not to look at him that way, as she should be grateful. Meanwhile, the woman informed the city lord that the child had arrived, undergone a physical examination, and was in perfect health. Kong Ming asked the boy if he was afraid, but the boy replied that if it weren't for the city lord, they would have starved to death. Kang Ming told him not to mention such things, as he was the future. At that moment, several centipedes began to emerge from the boy's head. Kang Ming explained that only children possess the anti-aging gene, and that unfortunately each absorption didn't last very long. His appearance then became much younger. The woman remarked that he controlled all the women there, so he could make them have children as often as he wanted. However, he replied that it wasn't enough, as he needed crystal cores to enhance his ability. That was the starting point for achieving eternal life. The woman said she would have her subordinates hurry with the crystal core collection. Kang Ming, in turn, told her to deal with the troublesome women below. Meanwhile, Duanya and Yun Yun were already struggling to endure the Lady of Poison's toxin. She told them to hold on, as it was meant to prevent brainworms. At that moment, two judges appeared before them, saying it was rare to find top-tier beauties like them, and decided they would buy them. While Yin Xiao watched from a distance, Duanya asked the Lady of Poison what they meant by that. She explained that, inside that place, women were nothing more than resources, and that, even with identity cards, nothing changed. The only difference was the price, 1 crystal core per person. The men remarked that, despite the high cost, their taste was irresistible. However, the women replied that it wasn't they who were irresistible, and said they would show what had really happened. Using her mind control, the Lady of Poison revealed the truth of the situation, leaving those men completely traumatized. The scene then shifted to a man saying he had arrived too late, as the Spider King was already dead and its crystal core was gone. Fortunately, his target wasn't the crystal core. He took the spider's legs and said they should be enough. At that moment, Su Chen tried to attack him, but the man blocked the blow with a punch. Su Chen realized the man was strong. The man told Su Chen he wasn't there to steal his crystal core. Su Chen asked how he could believe that, and the man replied that he knew Su Chen was very strong, but if he used his full power, he might not come out on top. He added that his goal was only the spider's legs, and asked if they could consider themselves friends, introducing himself as Wang Song. Su Chen thought that man was the expert from his previous life, the famous Black Blade, and wondered how he had ended up there, and whether he was looking for a craftsman. Then Su Chen said that, in that case, he would accept him as a friend. Wanson asked if he was also there to join the New World, and wanted to know his name. Su Chen introduced himself and explained that he was there because he had heard the New World was very good. He then asked why Wanson needed the spider legs. Wanson replied that it was something a friend had asked him to find, but that he still had important matters to deal with, so he would leave first. Before departing, he offered some advice. He told Su Chen to never touch any New World identity card. Su Chen wanted to know why, but Wanson simply repeated to never touch them. Su Chen then thought there must be some hidden secret in those identity cards, but that he first needed to follow that man to find the craftsman. The scene shifted again, showing some men surrounding Ansong and demanding that he hand over the spiders. However, one of them remarked that he was only carrying the spider's legs. In a matter of seconds, Wang Song defeated everyone in front of him. Su Chen thought this was expected, as the expert from his previous life was already at level 3, and he himself was approximately at the same level. After absorbing that crystal core, Wang Song would certainly be able to reach level 3, but the problem would be the side effects. Switching scenes, Su Chen presented his identity card to the gate guards. One of them remarked it was the first time he had seen someone placing the card into that kind of box, and said he was a very strange person. Soon after, Su Chen threw in the bodies of the spiders he had captured, which shocked the men with his speed. One of them mentioned that the captain had left an identity card before leaving, and congratulated Su Chen for becoming the newest member of the New World. Su Chen began to wonder if there was something strange about that card, since Wanson had warned him not to touch it. At that moment, he noticed black smoke coming out of the card, and the girl in his his mind appeared again. She explained that suddenly a bunch of brainworms had tried to enter his head, but luckily she had been quick enough to kill them all. Su Chen remarked that the card was emitting black smoke, and the girl said that was the transmission medium for the brainworms. That meant Duanya and the others would be in danger if they had received the same thing. At that moment, Kang Ming noticed something and said that someone was infiltrating the city center, concluding that the three women must be accomplices. Meanwhile, Yun Yun could no longer hold on because of the poison. The judges, still completely traumatized, said they would not be fooled by those false memories. Duanya replied that it was up to them to find out if it was real or not. But soon after, the two men moved to attack them. The women dodged, and the men's strike ended up destroying the entire building. The name of that technique was Iron Head. The one-eyed man explained that their skulls had become like that after the apocalypse and that, before, everyone used to mock them. Now, however, their blows were so powerful that no one could withstand them. Then they charged at the girls again, and when the women tried to flee, something held them back. Duanya realized it was Inksal doing it. When one of them tried to hit Duanya, Yun Yun, already in giant form, grabbed the attackers, impressing Inksal. Duanya said she was already controlling some people hidden in the audience, so it was easy to capture that invisible person. While Yun Yun held one of the men, the one-eyed man tried to attack her, but she put his own friend in front of him, causing him to kill him. She then declared that the next one would be Yin Xiao. However, suddenly Yun Yun returned to her normal size and said her ability had been suppressed again. At that moment, the two began being attacked by something invisible, and Duanya quickly killed the people she was controlling, which greatly surprised Yin Xiao. Meanwhile, the Lady of Poison and Yun Yun were completely tied up. He asked if Duanya was planning to use those wings as weapons, and she replied that they would be enough to finish him off. He then began smiling like a psychopath, saying this was going to get very interesting. At the same time, Su Chen and the spirit girl were in the city center, continuing to follow Wang Song to find the craftsman. At that moment, Wang Song told Fu Susu that he had arrived and brought what she had asked for. Fu Susu said that with the legs of the Spider King, she could save her grandfather. Wang Song stated that once they rescued Master Fu, they would leave that place. She added that once her grandfather recovered, he would make the strongest weapon for him. With the Spider King's legs, Fu Susu created some climbing weapons and explained that her grandfather was imprisoned on the top floor by the city lord. Wang Song asked why they didn't climb from inside the building, and Susu replied that they couldn't do that. Su Chen wondered if that person was the craftsman and decided he would climb the building as well. Jumping toward a window, he remarked that it seemed no one was inside. The spirit girl questioned why they were climbing the wall. At that moment, a creature attacked the two. The spirit girl said she now understood why they hadn't gone inside. Quickly, Su Chen leapt outside the building. Wang Song wondered what the hell Su Chen was doing there and asked if the girl was the craftsman. However, behind Su Chen, a gigantic creature was destroying everything. Wang Song and Susu shouted for him not to approach, but Su Chen, thinking fast, grabbed the girl, used a boost off Hansen, and ended up knocking Wang Song onto the monster. Su Chen said he would leave the rest to him. Susu asked what he wanted with her, and he replied that his name was Su Chen, and that he wanted her to help him forge a knife. She asked why she should help him, and he said he could grant her a wish later. But first, they needed to go to the rooftop. At that moment, Susu's grandfather was shown looking at a photo of the two of them together, saying that as long as she was safe, it didn't matter how much he suffered. Soon after, Su Chen and his granddaughter appeared before him. Surprised, the old man asked if it was really his stinky little girl, and said he had already warned her about the dangers of wandering around. Susu then revealed that he was actually her forging master, and that this grumpy old man was the master craftsman Su Chen was looking for. If he wanted to make top-tier weapons, he would have to save that man. When Su Chen tried to break the chains holding him, he couldn't. The old man explained that they were made from mutant materials after the apocalypse, and that he had forged them himself. Susu scolded him for saying that with such pride. He replied that he had only done it because he had been threatened by the city lord. Su Chen then suggested that he create a weapon stronger than those chains, but the old man claimed they were made from the most durable materials in the entire new world. However, Su Chen said he had something to show him and summoned his gigantic black stone. Surprised, Susu wondered where that stone had come from. The old man, impressed, said that the rock had a powerful strength unlike anything he had ever seen before, and asked Su Chen where he had gotten it. Su Chen explained that he wanted a knife forged from that stone, as perhaps that way he could cut through the shackle. The old man agreed, but noted that minerals of that level were extremely difficult to refine, and that, from then on, everything would depend on Su Chen. He then asked him to follow him. The scene changed, and the old man explained that the city lord had imprisoned him on that rooftop, forcing him to help forge mutant materials. Due to the special nature of these materials, the tools used also had to be specially made, and one of them a giant piece, required at least 10 people to push. However, everyone had abandoned their work to watch the beauty contest's finale. So, he asked Su Chen for help. Su Chen took off his shirt and said there was no problem. The old man explained that after the temperature rose, they would push the raw mineral into the furnace to melt it, stressing that once it was placed in the furnace, the process could not be interrupted, or else the mineral would become waste. Susu asked why her grandfather was sitting down, and he replied that there was no need to rush. Even for an ability user like Su Chen, the furnace would take at least 3 hours to reach the proper temperature. However, Su Chen pushed with such force and speed that the temperature rose quickly. The old man, astonished, said it was the first time he had seen such a fierce flame and asked if Su Chen was some kind of monster. Susu commented that it was getting very hot, but her grandfather told her to stop stalling because they needed to push it quickly. After finishing the push, he said that they just needed to wait. It was then that the city lord appeared. Without hesitation, Susu attacked him, accusing him of locking her grandfather there. However, the woman accompanying him attacked Susu, saying her time had come. The woman transformed into an insect-like creature and immobilized Susu. At that moment, Wang Song appeared and punched her in the face. The two began a fierce battle, and holding the enemy upside down, Wang Song split her in half with a crushing hug, shocking everyone with his strength. When he asked Susu if she was all right, she whispered that he was very handsome. When he asked her to repeat it, she became embarrassed. The moment was quickly broken when it became clear that Wang Song was terrified of insects. Susu took the opportunity to kill the centipede, thanking him for saving her life. The city lord, enraged, asked how he dared kill his servant. Wang Song replied that the lord seemed very weak. At that moment, the city lord transformed into a gigantic centipede, asking if he still seemed weak now. With his true form revealed, he declared that he would have to kill everyone there. The scene then shifted to Duanya's fight, as she was receiving several blows from Yin Xiao. Yin Xiao observed that since she couldn't see the opponent's movements, it was impossible to dodge, and that not even a psychic ability user could sense where the attack was coming from. However, when he tried to attack her again, she managed to dodge, leaving him puzzled. He noticed that his invisible men had blood stains and realized she was scattering blood using the wings of her costume. Duanya then kicked him in the face, telling him to shut up. Suddenly, they heard a massive noise. Looking back, they saw several insects destroying a building. The smaller ones began attacking everyone ahead, and Duanya quickly tore the man's head off. It was then that she realized the ghosts were actually phantom rabbits. At that moment, she found a video game controller and realized that was how he controlled those creatures. With that, she could now control those men as well. She said it was perfect, as they were very easy to control. Meanwhile, however, the insects were almost reaching Yun Yun and the Lady of Poison. Quickly, Duanya ordered the rabbit to protect the two of them, and to save them, they created a barrier between them. Yun Yun warned that they could not stay there for long and needed to find a way out. At that moment, the insects began to break through the barrier. The Lady of Poison declared that she would try to use her poisonous gas to drive them away, and realized that the insects were indeed afraid of it. On the other hand, the girls themselves were also unable to withstand the poison. Then, a tower of insects appeared before them. Yun Yun warned that Swarm was extremely dangerous. The insects gathered together, forming a gigantic creature. The Lady of Poison told the two to calm down, but they replied they couldn't. Just as the giant insect was about to crush them, the scene shifted. Anon appeared and said it was nothing more than a turtle shell, declaring that he would slice that bastard in half. When the city lord tried to attack him, he managed to dodge, and with his sword delivered several slashes at the enemy. However, they had no effect, and Anon ended up taking a direct hit. Susu ran to him, asking if he was all right, but the city lord tried to attack her. At that moment, Wang Song stepped in front and took all the blows, protecting her. Falling into Susu's arms, he said that monster was very hard to deal with and asked her to take her grandfather away as quickly as possible. Kamim, however, said there was no way they would leave. Just when they were cornered, Su Chen appeared to save them and said they first needed to help the old man, leaving the giant insect to him because he could handle it. Then, Su Chen was seen talking to the old man, asking if it wasn't enough already. The old man replied that the black stone still wasn't melting, which shouldn't be happening since the heat was sufficient. Su Chen asked if there was something wrong with the stone. The old man explained that the black stone was simply too perfect and that there was only one method to melt it, but this method came at a price. Su Chen wanted to know what that condition was, saying he would do whatever he could. The old man asked him to take his granddaughter to the City of Freedom. Su Chen was surprised to hear the name, as this city was established by the officials of legend and was known as humanity's last utopia. In his previous life, he had only heard rumors of the place. He then asked if this city truly existed and if the old man knew where it was. The old man asked if Su Chen had heard of the City of Freedom. Since he had, he could leave the black stone with him and asked Susu to help him with this mission. Su Chen thought it would be worth checking if the place really existed, but in any case, he first needed that dagger. They could talk about it later. For now, he would deal with the giant insect. When Su Chen punched the insect, he noticed that its armor had been forged by the old man, and that even at full strength, strength, the attack caused no damage at all. The creature tried to devour him, and Susu said they needed to get her grandfather out of there as quickly as possible. Suddenly, the grandfather began screaming loudly. When they ran to see what had happened, they found him missing a leg. Filled with hatred, Susu began crying and accused Su Chen, saying she would kill him. The grandfather told her to stop immediately, reminding her that she should know that top-quality materials were not cold, lifeless objects, but beings filled with spirit. He explained that their true power could only be unleashed with the flesh and blood of the master forger. Susu asked what would happen with his leg, but the old man replied it was just a leg and there was no reason to be sad about it. And as the master forger now had the chance to create a weapon of this level, this was undoubtedly the greatest achievement of his life. Wang Song began bandaging him, saying the old man couldn't die yet, as he still owed him a weapon as well. But the old man responded that this place would not last much longer. At that moment, the scene shifted to Gold, who was walking alongside several mermaid women, one of them with insects coming out of her mouth and ear. Back to Wang Song, he commented to the old man that the black stone was beginning to change. The old man confirmed, saying that the sacrifice method for the dagger had indeed been very effective, and that they could already begin the next stage. However, Wang Song asked if it was possible to forge a dagger from such a large piece. The old man explained that once refined, it would be enough for only one dagger. Wang Song said it was a pity, as that stone gave him a very familiar feeling. Meanwhile, Sushin was still fighting the giant insect. Kamim commented that Sushin was very strong, but that he had seen even stronger men. He explained that the armor had originally been prepared for one of those men, and that now he would use it against Su Chen to baptize it. Curious, Su Chen asked who this man was. Kamen replied that Su Chen would die today, so there was no reason to want to know, and added that he already knew the old man was forging a weapon for Sushin, which was why he had prepared in advance. At that moment, the tank where several mermaid women were held exploded. The poor kitten, frightened, ran and appeared in front of Susu, who asked where it had come from and told it to get out of there, as the place was very dangerous. They soon realized they were surrounded by insects and remarked that it was the stinky cat that had attracted those creatures. Meanwhile, Su Chen was still fighting evenly with the city lord, and Yunyun was doing her best to withstand the insect attack. The Lady of Poison said her gas couldn't reach the insects, but Duanya insisted she couldn't let the situation continue like this, and said she would try something against them. Since they were living organisms, she believed she could affect them. At that instant, a gigantic barrier appeared around them, greatly alarming the Lady of Poison. Looking at Duanya, she realized the girl had been upgraded to a level 2 human and possessed the psychic ability of mental fluctuation. Taking the opportunity, Yunyun kicked the giant insect in the head. However, some insects ended up grabbing her arm. The Lady of Poison said she would try to help, but when they looked up, they saw that Su Chen was fighting a gigantic creature and wasn't faring well. While they were distracted, the insects restrained Yunyun, and Kamen rushed toward her to attack. At the last second, Su Chen managed to stop the monster, and Yunyun shouted for everyone to hold on because she was going to counterattack. She broke free from the insects and delivered a powerful kick to them. When Su Chen emerged from the wreckage, he remarked, "Just as expected from my women," though he admitted he was feeling a bit dizzy. As he ran his hand over his head, he realized he was bleeding. Kang Ming said he would grant Su Chen's wish, since he was going to die anyway. At that moment, Yunyun began to wonder if those insects were merging together, as they seemed to be growing bigger and stronger. Su Chen realized that was not a good sign, and remarked that he hoped Old Fu and the others were doing well. Meanwhile, Hansen was fighting the insects, declaring himself an heir to traditional martial arts. Since the apocalypse, he had combined those arts with his abilities, creating a unique power. His technique was energy breaking, but even so, his strikes had no effect on the insects. Susu said she needed to help her grandfather first, but he replied that he wasn't useless enough to need a stinky girl to protect him, and that it was about time he made his move. Suddenly, the old man's body swelled with muscle, resembling Master Roshi from Dragon Ball. He commented that it had been a long time since he had used his full strength, and declared that they would now see what kind of weapon he could forge. With the very first hammer strike, a powerful gust of wind swept through everyone nearby. From afar, Kang Ming wondered what kind of fluctuation that was and how Old Fu could still be alive. He decided that, in that case, he would personally kill him. However, he was intercepted by Yunyun, who held him back. When Kang Ming tried to attack her, Duanya created a barrier around her body, but she ended up being captured by him, who said he would devour her. Quickly, Su Chen told her not to be afraid and saved her, delivering several punches to Kang Ming's head. He then carried Duanya in his arms and asked if she was all right, but in that instant, both were swallowed by the monster's tail, which also had a mouth. Kang Ming commented that now they were being digested, and that all that was left was to kill that useless old man. At that moment, the one who appeared to help Yunyun was none other than Gold. With a dagger clamped in his mouth, he managed to force the monster's mouth open and free the two. Gold handed the dagger to Su Chen, who asked if it had been forged by the old man. Duanya observed that the dagger seemed very special. Su Chen Chen said it was perfect, and that he would test it against the giant insect. With Gold's speed assisting him, he managed to cleave the insect in half with a single strike, even impressing Susu. However, the fight was not over yet. Kongming transformed into an insect, saying that the nest he had worked on for so long had been destroyed, but that he had a contingency plan to seek refuge with the Corpse Queen and return for revenge. Before he could flee, Union slapped him as if he were just a common fly. Returning to her normal size, she nearly fainted. Duanya asked why she had grown so large and if she had already forgotten that her body couldn't handle it. Union replied that she couldn't just stand by and watch that stinking insect escape. Meanwhile, Su Chen told Gold not to eat that thing because it was disgusting, saying it would be better to have canned cat food later. On the other side, Wang Song was clearing the way and removing debris. At that moment, snow began to fall. Duanya commented that winter shouldn't be arriving so soon, but that since the apocalypse, the climate had been completely chaotic, so snow had probably become normal. Then, Simon told everyone to look at the dark clouds in the sky, saying he had never seen clouds so thick and black that they completely blocked out the sun. Su Chen, however, stated that those weren't dark clouds, but volcanic ash. He explained that volcanoes had already begun erupting before the apocalypse, and that with all those continuous eruptions, it was only a matter of time before ash covered the entire Earth. Surprised, Duanya asked if volcanic ash mixed with snow would disappear after the snowfall ended. Su Chen replied no, because immediately afterward, the winter apocalypse would begin, a wave of cold that would freeze the entire planet. At that moment, Kongming's skeleton began glowing red, and he returned saying they couldn't kill him since he could summon swarms of insects and be reborn infinitely. Wang Song told Su Chen they should attack together, but Su Chen refused, activating his spatial ability alone. Kongming felt the space around him warping and began screaming in pain until he completely vanished. Su Chen remarked that, as expected, after having spent so much energy earlier, Kangming's body was weakened enough to be directly absorbed into his space. Still, he said he didn't want to keep that guy in there, while the others wondered what the hell had just happened. Then, Su Chen told Old Fu that the snow was getting heavier and heavier, so they would have to postpone the trip to the City of Freedom. The old man replied that it no longer mattered, as they currently had neither winter clothes nor enough food, and with everyone injured, they wouldn't last long. Determined, Susu said he would not die there. Suddenly, Su Chen pulled out a fur coat and handed it over to keep them warm, surprising everyone, who asked where he had gotten it from. He also handed out food, a tent, and medicine. Susu, intrigued, wondered if he had an infinite pocket. Su Chen added that they needed to find a place to rest. Once inside the truck, Duanya remarked that Yunyun had grown so big that cracks had appeared on her body, fearing it might be something serious this time. Su Chen explained that the crystal core had belonged to the Spider King, and that he hadn't consumed it himself for fear of the side effects. Duanya asked if he intended to give the core to Yunyun, but he replied that they would soon face the Corpse Queen and her tide of dead, and he needed all of them to be strong. After eating the core, Yunyun said it seemed to be working, but suddenly she threw herself onto Su Chen. He asked why, and Duanya admitted she had forgotten to mention that the poison hadn't been cured yet and told Su Chen to help detoxify them. From here on, you already know what happens, right? The usual for this series. The narrator commented, even so, Su Chen was confused, as Yunyun should have leveled up with that crystal core. He concluded there might be only one explanation. Yunyun's talent could be so high that she needed to accumulate far more power than others. Meanwhile, the two women talked, saying that Su Chen was badly injured after the battle and couldn't possibly detoxify them. However, he told them not to underestimate him. At that moment, the scene shifted to a few men poking the Lady of Poison, who was tied to a tree. When she woke up, she asked who the hell they were and then fell from the tree. The men explained they didn't want to hurt her, only check on her. She wondered if she had really fallen from a tree, but then began remembering what happened. When Yunyun grew giant, she had fallen from her shoulder and gotten stuck. Luckily, she had landed in the tree, otherwise she would have been dead. The men commented that it was starting to get very cold and that she should hurry to find clothes. She realized it really was snowing and said she needed to find her master as soon as possible or she would freeze to death. The problem was, she didn't even know where she was. Suddenly, those same men came running back in a panic. At that moment, two creatures appeared behind her and attacked the Lady of Poison. She managed to escape, running far away, thinking that dealing with those two creatures would not be easy at all. She needed to come up with a plan as quickly as possible. Soon, she found Su Chen's vehicle and thought she was safe for the moment. However, when she opened the truck door, she was met with something that can't be clearly described here. Meanwhile, the two men said they had found found a trailer and needed to get inside quickly. She replied that they didn't have permission to enter and knocked them back with a strike. At that instant, a strong earthquake began. Looking up, she saw a massive mammoth with a woman riding on its back. When the mammoth stomped on the ground, the force was so great that it knocked all three down. The Lady of Poison thought it would be impossible to defeat that mammoth. She ran into the trailer and warned everyone that there was a giant mammoth outside. Su Chen, with an irritated expression, asked what she had just said, frightening her to the point of apologizing for interrupting him. She repeated that there was a mammoth outside. Shan wondered if such a creature could really exist there. When Yun went to check, she saw that there really was a mammoth and asked where it could have come from. The Lady of Poison said she would ask the two men, but they claimed they knew nothing. She then began threatening them to tell the truth. In the end, they revealed that they had originally been survivors hiding in a zoo. A long time ago, those people had suddenly invaded the zoo. They were strange, as they weren't looking for food or water. The only thing they searched for were bones and animal remains. The scene was so terrifying that they decided to secretly escape from the zoo. However, they hadn't expected to end up being targeted in this way. Yun begins to wonder if they might have revived the mammoth using only the bones found at the zoo. Perhaps it was another strange creature that evolved after the apocalypse. At that moment, Yun becomes gigantic again and says she will capture it for study. She grabs the mammoth by its trunk, spinning it around as if it were a toy, while wondering why its trunk was so large. The men, frightened, question what kind of research that was. Su Chen steps in, saying there's no need to investigate, as it was a corpse soldier of a mutant beast. The final wave of the corpse tide gathered by the corpse queen. When Su Chen steps outside, one of the men recognizes him. One thing I still don't understand is how you haven't left a like after watching this amazing video. I mean, this work is really confusing, man. My god, some parts are really bad, but there are also some really good ones.